Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Break Wanda, Get Superman Template. Chapter 21. On the streets of New York late at night, Hulk frantically destroyed everything. The power of terror makes people despair. Ross looked at Banner, who was rushing over, and said lightly, "Bronski, it's your turn to make a move." Bronski stood up, looking at the berserk Hulk. His eyes revealed a shocking fighting intent. He was the leader of the team that captured the Hulk. In the process of capturing, gradually become obsessed with Hulk's power. Driven by inner desires, he voluntarily became an experiment. With the help of the super soldier serum, he easily surpassed the human limit. Later, a drop of Hulk's blood was integrated, and his strength soared tenfold. This made him extremely confident that he could defeat the berserk green monster in front of him. Bronski tiptoed, and his whole body was like lightning, rushing towards Hulk. Everywhere it went, the ground cracked and the air vibrated. "Come on, let's have a look, the most perfect experimental product." Rose stood up straight, his eagle-like eyes were extremely sharp. The adjutant flattered. Bronski has undergone a second injection, and his strength far exceeds that of ordinary super soldiers. The reporter cleared his throat and let the camera focus on him. "Hi everyone, this is the Daily Bugle." A green monster suddenly appeared on the streets of New York. Is it the distortion of human nature or the loss of morality? At this time of crisis, the military has become our strongest backing. The reporter was smiling and talking endlessly. Incomparable to her colleagues, she also used her mobile phone to open the live broadcast. In this case, there will be an extra money on weekdays. My God, is that monster real? It's not going to be a movie. Hee, upstairs, you can see clearly, this is a live broadcast. As we all know, there is no way to fake a video. I believe it is true. That man is so fierce, he rushed to the monster alone. Awesome. There are more and more people in the live broadcast room. The reporter looked at it with a smile on his face. "Ytn, can that person defeat Hulk?" Phil Coulson asked. Ytn gritted his back molars, beat a fart. As soon as the words fell, Hulk and Bronski collided. Boom, Bronski flew upside down, rolling on the ground like a torn sack. Then he slammed into a wall hard. The lumbar spine was broken, and the body showed a strange arc. Bronski, who Rose had high hopes for, directly contributed to the Marvel name scene. Similarly, it also perfectly explained what it means to be on the stage as the peak. The smile froze on Rose's face. The smile on the adjutant's face also froze. The reporter's throat rolled, and the beautiful face was covered with sweat. Turning his head to look, he was almost scared to pee. Hulk roared and rushed over again. Shoot, stop him, General Ross yelled. Da. Machine guns fired wildly. Several modified armored vehicles turned on sonic weapons. Terrifying sound waves warped the air, covering Hulk with devastating force. Roar, Hulk yelled in pain. There was endless anger in his eyes. He grabbed two cars and smashed them over. A car weighing 1 or 2 tons was randomly thrown over like a toy. Boom, a violent explosion sounded, and the flames engulfed everything around. Thick smoke and dust rose up, making the scene even more chaotic. Back, Rose yelled frantically. This thunderous man had experienced half a lifetime of fighting, and it was the first time he felt panic. An armored vehicle was thrown into the air, and then fell heavily in the distance. Then there was a bang explosion. The flames from the explosion were mixed with air waves, sweeping around. None of the dozen or so soldiers inside was spared. Facing monsters of Hulk's level, human power seemed so insignificant. It's over. Rose's face was livid. I also realized that it is a terrible thing to let Hulk go crazy in the city. Hulk charged forward again, just when everyone was desperate. A rope formed by several golden runes came through the air and wrapped tightly around Hulk. But Hulk, who was going forward indomitably, was held back tightly. Who is it? Rose cheered up, and quickly looked over. Many soldiers escaped from death and cheered excitedly. The reporter also adjusted the camera excitedly. The person who shot was Ytn, although he is also disgusted by what Ross has done. But those soldiers are innocent. They also have parents, even wives and children. Each one represents a family. Ytn. Phil Coulson's face was ugly. Even if he knew that Ytn was very strong, would he have a chance of winning against a monster like Hulk? He quickly dialed the chief's phone number. Ask the chief to help quickly. Hulk, look this way. The muscles of Yi Tian's whole body were tense, and his arms trembled slightly as he dragged the chain. Hulk, smash. After being provoked, Hulk turned sharply and rushed towards Yi Tian. Yi Tian didn't dare to resist, and lowered his head to avoid the attack. Then the palm of the hand quickly formed a seal, and countless rune lines condensed into a sledgehammer. Yi Tian soared into the air and swung a sledgehammer at Hulk. With this blow, Yi Tian exploded with all his strength. Under the blessing of inertia, there are as many as 100 tons. Hulk couldn't stand still, and was thrown directly into the building. Thick smoke and dust rose up, and under the light of the fire, it was full of oppression. Roar! There was another roar. Hulk appeared again. Muscles are stronger. The breath on his body became more and more terrifying. The greater the anger, the greater the power. Moreover, this growth has no limit. Yi Tian's scalp tingled for a while. Banner, I know you are still conscious, control yourself. You don't want Betty to be sad either. Betty, who was in the distance, also ran over, her beautiful eyes filled with tears. Banner, wake up. Banner, I know you can hear me. Hoo-hoo. Green Titan's chest rose and fell violently, panting heavily. Angry pupils stared at Betty, and the anger in them slowly dissipated. Yi Tian's eyes lit up. Sure enough, love is a good medicine to save the suffering. Seeing this scene, the survivors also let out a long sigh of relief. Survived, we survived. God, I'm scared to death. The rest of their lives made them feel alive for the first time and how happy they were to breathe fresh air. And at this moment, not far from the battlefield, Bronsky, who was on the verge of death, looked a little crazy. For strength, he survived 2 strengthening injections. However, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he was defeated by 1 blow. Not only did he feel ashamed, but he was even more unwilling. With great effort, he took out the light green liquid from his bosom, and his eyes sparkled with excitement and madness. This is the serum synthesized from the blood of the Green Titan. Has great power. Just 1 drop can increase his strength tenfold. But now, he wanted to inject all the blood into his body. What happens with the super soldier serum and Hulk blood integrate is unpredictable. Maybe it would turn him into an ugly monster with loathing in his mind. But he doesn't care. As long as he can gain great power, he can give anything. Bronsky stuck the needle into his body, and the light green liquid in the needle flowed, exuding a bewitching light. Gently push, the liquid is injected into the body visible to the naked eye. Hulk blood enters the body and reacts with the super soldier serum. The intense pain made his body tremble violently. Ah! Bronsky let out a low growl. Every cell in the body is torn apart. He was lying on the ground with a hideous expression. Veins popped out on his forehead. There was madness and ferocity in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, his body mutated. The corners of the mouth began to split, and the spine on the back made a click sound and then bulged high. Bone spurs protruded from the spine, piercing the skin. His body began to swell and his skin turned gray. The roaring sound became more and more hoarse and rough. In a short period of time, Bronsky changed his appearance. The 5-meter-high body is not inferior to Hulk, and his face and bone spurs make him look extremely hideous. The huge taupe pupils were full of madness and tyranny. Roar! A violent roar resounded through the entire street. The abomination born with the super soldier serum integrate Hulk's blood officially appeared in the world. Hiss! Everyone gasped. The extremely ferocious hatred stimulated everyone's nerves. Compared with the abomination, Hulk looked delicate. He felt that his whole body was full of power, which was a terrifying power that he had never experienced before. Rush like the sea. With a slight force on the thick arm, he tore a car in half. Bronsky was thrilled that he finally had Hulk-like strength. Hulk! The abomination let out a growl, jumping up suddenly. The whole person was like a truck, running towards Hulk with thick legs. Every time you step on it, the ground cracks and shakes. The adjutant and the soldier stared at the abomination in dumbfounded. An endless chill emerged from the depths of his heart. What did Chief Bronsky inject to become this horrible existence? Oh my God, that's enough power to rival the Hulk. The adjutant and several generals looked at each other and saw the joy in each other's eyes. They are a bunch of smart people who are the best at weighing the pros and cons. The birth of hatred represents that their military has added another big killer. The strength of the military has been greatly enhanced. Rose's eyes lit up, and hope was rekindled. Bronski finally got the power of Hulk. This means that their research was successful. Super soldier serum and Hulk blood can create powerful monsters. Witnessing the inexhaustible power of the Hulk, Ross understands deeply. Under that suffocating power, any firepower and heavy weapons are as ridiculous as toys. Once the Hulk can be mass-produced, the Lighthouse Country is enough to rule the entire world. At that time, he, General Ross, will become the greatest general since the founding of the Lighthouse Kingdom. The name goes down in history, is recorded in books, and is admired by everyone. Yi Tian glanced around and caught the eyes of everyone. Common people's shock. The excitement of the military. You don't even know what kind of monster you created. Yi Tian cursed. Abomination is a ticking time bomb. Ross couldn't grasp it at all. The abomination charged at the Hulk in a menacing manner, and everywhere he went, there was ruins. Hulk, die. Abomination punched the ground. The ground shook non-stop, as if an earthquake had occurred. An extremely deep crack appeared on the wide road, spreading towards Hulk at an extremely fast speed. Ah! Betty exclaimed and fell to the ground. The crack has come to the front. Yi Tian shook his hand and threw out a chain, wrapping it around Betty's waist. Soft and elastic at the beginning. Yi Tian's body shook. Amitabha, I accidentally misplaced my hand. Roar! Hulk roared. Yi Tian's scalp was numb, and he quickly explained, I'm here for her. Only then did Hulk look back, and then rushed towards the hatred that provoked him. The two behemoths collided together. Die to me. Abomination raised a large truck, and its strong arms smashed out a sonic boom. Keep slapping the car on the Hulk. Hulk, smash. After being hit by the car a few times, the anger in Hulk's eyes rose again. He stretched out his thick arms, and under his green skin were hideous veins. Boom. The hatred was smashed away with a punch. Roar. The hatred let out a howl, and the reason in his eyes completely disappeared. The desire to kill in his heart became stronger and overwhelmed his rationality. The loathing chest was constantly heaving, and the ferocious eyes looked at the ordinary people not far away. He rushed out suddenly, and the target was ordinary people. The ferocious hatred is extremely terrifying, and the powerful force sweeps across. He grabbed the street lamps on both sides of the road and swept them out fiercely. Driven by a powerful force, metal streetlights exploded with sharp sonic booms. Boom! Dozens of ordinary people were hit. The flesh and blood directly exploded under the violent and berserk impact. Minced meat mixed with blood fell all around. The strong smell of blood can hardly be dispelled. Ah! Monster! This is a monster! Woo! Mom, don't die! This monster is coming again, run away! Screams and crying were intertwined. Looking at the huge body of hate, these people felt extremely desperate. Instinctive fear made them limp on the ground. At this time, they realized their stupidity. Curiosity killed the cat, they shouldn't be watching. You should leave as soon as the disaster strikes. However, in this world, there is no medicine for regret at all, and only death awaits them. The crying around, roar, made Hulk's eyes clear. He took a big step, quickly past the hatred, and stopped in front of the crowd. This green monster is protecting us. This idea flashed in everyone's mind. At this moment, the people from the military became the massacres. Hulk, who was regarded as a monster, became the patron saint of people instead. Burning vehicles are everywhere on the wide road. At the end of the road, there are rows of armored vehicles. Soldiers on the roof tightly gripped their heavy machine guns. Keep your finger on the switch to ensure that the big killer is activated the first time. However, thousands of soldiers still looked serious and nervous. Because their goals are two monsters beyond human understanding. General, the monster that Bronski turned into seems to be out of control. Shall we help the Hulk? General, shall we shoot? Several soldiers said nervously. The two monsters fought, and the destructive power erupted made them realize how small their own power was. The intense fear makes them just want to end the fight as soon as possible, before things get out of hand. Ross was silent for a long time, then nodded. However, his words stunned the soldiers. Shoot, target Hulk. The soldier froze. They can see that the current Hulk is doing his best to protect human beings. And Bronski turned into an abomination. Already lost my mind. Turned into a monster that only knows destruction and killing. Attacking Hulk at this time will only make the latter lose his mind again. Soldier, carry out the order. Rose's face darkened. The soldier nodded. Although unwilling, he could only turn the machine gun and aim at Hulk. Yi Tian, who had been observing the battlefield, frowned when he saw the soldiers' movements. Bad thoughts arise in my mind. Da da da. Intensive gunfire sounded. The blue flame appeared on the street again. The armor-piercing bullets tore through the air and hit Hulk like raindrops. Fools, Phil Coulson yelled. If Ross's attack angered Hulk, it would not only be disgusting that no one could contain it. Even the Hulk loses his mind and turns into a monster who only destroys. Thinking about the crazy destruction of two monsters in New York, around Phil Coulson, can't help but feel chills in the bottom of my heart. Hulk, smash it. Hulk went completely crazy. He's not stopping the hate. A pair of eyes shone with green light. The terrifying body swelled up again. The provocation of the army made the green monster extremely angry. A monster born of gamma rays, decided to unleash its wrath. Hulk's huge body jumped up and fell towards the position of the armored vehicle. Boom! The ground trembled. The two armored vehicles were directly pressed into a discus. The soldiers inside are extruded by shapeshifting steel. Without even screaming, it turned into a puddle of meat. Covered General Ross. The adjutant was dripping with cold sweat and waving his arms. Several special forces stepped forward to protect Rose and retreat. Rose's face was gloomy, and his sharp, eagle-like eyes did not fluctuate. The rest of the soldiers drove armored vehicles and stopped in the middle. As soldiers, it is their mission to protect their superiors. At this moment, they drove the armored car without hesitation and ran towards Hulk. Knowing that it was death, he still launched the final charge. Hulk roared ferociously, and the endless anger made Hulk get rid of Banner's control completely. The growing desire to destroy prompted him to open his arms. I saw the terrifying energy gathering together, and the veins on the arms burst out. The surrounding ground is centered on Hulk, and cracks appear like Spider-Man. And it spreads rapidly towards the surroundings. Boom! A dull crash sounded. Hulk's arms slammed together. The terrifying airflow formed a large-scale shockwave and rushed towards everyone. Wherever shockwave went, the earth cracked open. Several armored vehicles rolled on the ground, rolling the soldiers who couldn't escape into the bottom of the vehicles. The pungent blood splattered, and howls resounded through the streets. Ross was also swept by the airflow and slammed into a street lamp aside, but with the help of a few special forces, he was only slightly scratched. Under this large-scale AoE attack, dozens of soldiers died and hundreds were wounded. This terrifying attack was beyond everyone's imagination and completely destroyed Rose's confidence. This general, Thunder, had cold hands and feet at the moment, and the fear in his heart made him feel suffocated. Fake, fake, the adjutant cursed, backing away in horror. The power that Hulk erupted surpassed his perception, making him feel a little inferior. He regretted a little, how could this kind of monster be controlled by humans? However, looking at Hulk rushing towards him at a high speed, regretting was useless. Whoosh! Two golden rune chains flew from the air and wrapped around Hulk's waist. And the other end of the chain is Yi Tian. His other hand also threw out a few chains to control the hatred. Yi Tian's face was ferocious, with madness in his eyes. The muscles in both arms are bulging, and the veins are popping out. Holding the chain tightly with both hands. Hiss! Everyone gasped. He looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. The power emanating from the two brutal monsters is enough to destroy everything. And this bald boy, with a mortal body, held back two crazy monsters. Between the two monsters, he is very small, but reassuring. Who is this person? So strong. He was the one who told us to leave just now. Looks like it's from the FBI. Son, you must always remember him, he is our hero. There was fanaticism in everyone's eyes. Start cheering for your idol. Come on, come on. The voices gathered together contained their expectations and wills. What's your name? Get the hell out of here. Yi Tian had one head and two big ones. The power of the Hulk and the abomination is terrifying. I tried my best, but I could barely control it. In fact, the muscles of the entire back and arms have been torn. If it weren't for the self-healing factor, he would have been useless. This group of aggressive people didn't run away quickly, they were still shouting slogans here. The battlefield is not suitable for sensationalism. It's important to escape. Is this group of lighthouse people mentally ill? Boom. Yi Tian, Phil Coulson's voice trembled. He never expected that Yi Tian would step forward. However, he was more worried about Yi Tian's safety. Yi Tian endured the severe pain, his arm was in pain as if torn. I will stop them, you go and bring the vibranium long knife. Monsters like Abomination and Hulk not only have great strength, but also have amazing defense. Even missiles can't kill them. Only vibranium and adamantium can break the defense. SHIELD headquarters. Fury sat in the conference room, staring at the screen. Exactly what happened on the streets of New York. There are more than a dozen people sitting below, all agents above level 7. No one spoke in the entire meeting room, and the air pressure was very low. Hawkeye, you go to support Yi Tian. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, you go to the Military Research Institute and get the vibranium long knife. Fury said in a deep voice. The surrounding agents could sense that Fury was in a bad mood, so they didn't dare to speak. Hawkeye and Natasha Romanoff didn't dare to delay, and ran outside. Suicide Squad base. Amanda and the others were also staring at the screen. Yi Tian inside has already fought with the Abomination and Hulk. Relying on his excellent fighting skills, for a while, he did not lose the wind. Yi Tian must not give it to Fury. I want to grab it. Amanda's eyes glowed, staring at Yi Tian intently. This man is so strong, I like it. Harley Quinn licked her lips. I don't know if there is a chance to fight him. Boomerang was silent for a moment. Your dog's brains will be blown out, Harley Quinn sarcastically said. Hey, that big green guy must have very chewy meat. The killer crocodile touched his blue-white belly, and tears flowed from the corners of his mouth. Amanda tapped her fingers on the table, regretful in her heart. Would Yi Tian have joined the Suicide Squad if he hadn't been so forceful and invited as equals like Fury? Thinking of this, Amanda's heart ached. Harley Quinn, you go to the Military Scientific Research Institute and take the vibranium long knife and send it there. Harley Quinn had a charming and dangerous smile on her face. Don't make trouble, Amanda said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Harley Quinn drooped her face. The idea of making a fuss in the Military Scientific Research Institute dissipated. At this moment, in faraway California, a luxurious mansion. This is the temporary base of the Mutant Brotherhood. Magneto was staring at the screen intently. Behind him are the famous mutants. Sabretooth, Mystique, Burning Man. And in the room, there is a beautiful figure. If Yi Tian is here, he will definitely recognize it. It is Wanda who has Guan Bao's acquaintance. Is this person Yi Tian who saved you? Magneto's body was straight, his old face was full of determination under his silver hair. The whole person is full of decisiveness and the domineering arrogance of being in a high position for a long time. Wanda nodded, turned and walked outside. What are you doing? Magneto Eric frowned. Go and save him, Wanda said. Magneto said in a deep voice. Yi Tian is human, we are mutant. Now that he is dead, we will have one less terrifying enemy. Mystique nodded approvingly. This person is very powerful and will definitely become our worst enemy. Wanda looked at everyone blankly. All of you together are not as important as him. Sabretooth Victor exudes a terrifying aura, and a pair of dark eyes are fixed on Wanda. A terrifying murderous aura exudes from his body. He is Wolverine Logan's big brother, bloodthirsty and brutal. Don't forget your identity is mutant. Quicksilver on the couch jerked and stood shoulder to shoulder with Wanda. There was a cynical indifference on his face. The indifference dissipates only when looking at Wanda. Want to do it? Red energy bloomed from Wanda's palm. A look of embarrassment flashed across Magneto's face. Wanda and Quicksilver are his children. But the relationship is not good. For the pair of children, Magneto is full of apologies. I've been trying to find a way to make amends. It's far away from New York, and it's too late for you to go. Magneto was silent for a moment, and threw a pass at Quicksilver. Quicksilver took it and found it to be an FBI ID. Magneto said, this certificate can help you meet Professor X, and he will help you. The people around were surprised when they heard this. Magneto and Professor X were best friends when they were young. Later, The two people's ideas diverged. Magneto wants to destroy humans, but Professor X wants mutants to coexist with humans. The difference in philosophy makes these two close friends the biggest rivals. Magneto can become the leader of Mutant Brotherhood, not only powerful, but also very proud. Now let Quicksilver go to Professor X for help. Yi Tian saved my children. Magneto coughed lightly. We, the Mutant Brotherhood, do not owe favors. Quicksilver nodded and was about to leave. Brother, be careful, Wanda said, hesitated for a moment, and added again, if you encounter danger, take Yi Tian away. Quicksilver nodded. His variant ability moves at supersonic speed. This variant ability does not have great power, but it has a strong practicality. It can also handle many emergencies. Ooey, once in New York, he can save Yi Tian. Don't worry, put it on me. Quicksilver snapped his fingers, and his body disappeared instantly. In the state of haste, Quicksilver felt unprecedented excitement. Running can stimulate the secretion of dopamine, stimulate the nerves of the human body, and make people feel happy and excited. Imprisoned by Hydras since childhood, he rarely has the opportunity to run freely like this. Oh, Quicksilver cheered, going even faster. In his rapid space, everything outside seemed to stand still. Huh, I seemed to see someone just now, made a face at me, and disappeared in a flash. On a fast-moving supercar, the yellow-haired youth spoke. How is it possible, Mike, you were sucked dry by Maria, you must be dazzled. The companion smiled and said, their speed has reached more than 300 yards, how could anyone surpass them? Huang Mao's girlfriend's face flushed. And at this moment, Quicksilver suddenly appeared again, whistled at Maria, and then quickly disappeared in front of him. Oh crap, how can he run so fast? We are collectively dazzled. Hold the wheel. Military Research Institute, Arms Manufacturing Department. The middle-aged man in a white coat sighed, looking depressed at the two piles of metal in front of him. Bart, what's wrong with you? The companion asked. Bart smiled helplessly. Fact, why would anyone want to integrate adamantium and vibranium to create a long knife? What a waste. Vibranium and adamantium, priceless, are used to make ordinary long knives. Several scientists around heard this and burst out laughing. Forging a long knife is not difficult, the difficulty is to melt the two metals and then integrate them together. This is slow work. Shit, this job should be done by a blacksmith. Bart cursed. Whoever of you is willing to forge a long knife for me, I can treat him to a meal for a month. As a top scientist, he hates doing such untechnical but extremely troublesome things. Haha, Bart, this matter belongs to you. Don't get involved, we respectfully fight steel, you can slowly temper two pieces of metal. The colleagues around gloated. Fact, Bart felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten a fly. At this moment, the female assistant ran over in a panic. Professor Bart, the FBI is here. Bart frowned. What do the FBI want me to do? He thought for a moment, remembering not knowing anyone from the FBI. Hi, Professor Bart, I'm Phil Coulson, is the vibranium long knife ready? In the distance, Phil Coulson rushed over. He wants to quickly take away the vibranium long knife and hand it over to Yi Tian. If the battle lasted an extra minute, it would cause a large number of casualties. At the same time, Yi Tian's danger will also increase by 1 point. Bart shook his head. The two metals were delivered at noon, and we haven't started making them yet. He was a little puzzled. The vibranium long knife was sent by the military. How would the FBI know? What? Not made. What are you talking about? Phil Coulson shouted. The sound was so loud that everyone was startled. Fact, this is a laboratory, no yelling is allowed. My ears hurt, security, pull him out quickly. Several scientists rubbed their ears and spoke dissatisfiedly. They belong to the direct branch of the military and are not afraid of the FBI. At this time, the secretary ran over again and shouted out the contents of the phone. Professor Bart, the military is here. At this time, I saw the lieutenant colonel running over in a mess. He came running, also to get the vibranium long knife. Is the vibranium long knife ready? The lieutenant colonel shouted from afar. Phil Coulson snorted coldly. Not yet. The lieutenant colonel turned pale when he heard this. What are you eating? Every second of delay now puts General Ross in danger. The situation is very urgent. Bart hadn't had time to answer. The secretary spoke again. Professor Bart, someone from the government is looking for you. Professor Bart's scalp is numb. Why are so many people looking for him today? At this moment, a beautiful woman came from a distance. Wearing professional attire, she is tall and well-proportioned, and her face is even more beautiful, much more beautiful than the so-called Hollywood stars. It was Black Widow Natasha Romanoff who came. The identity of the government is also to hide the identity of S.H.I.E.L.D. He simply greeted Phil Coulson, and his beautiful eyes fell on Bart. Is the vibranium long knife ready? Bart, who was immersed in the beauty, replied subconsciously, not yet. Natasha Romanoff's eyes turned cold when he heard this, and a terrifying killing intent emanated from his whole body. At this time, other scientists around also realized that something was wrong. That vibranium long knife seems to be very important. At this moment, the female secretary connected to the front desk again. He looked at Bart strangely. Bart's scalp tingled. No, you're still looking for me. This time it's the X-Men, also here to ask about the vibranium long knife. Bart gasped for breath. At this moment, there was a sound of fighting at the door. I'm from Amanda, from the government, you fellows, how dare you stop me? The voice just fell. Harley Quinn holds a baseball bat in one hand. Security like a dead dog in one hand. Walked in swaggeringly. That's called Bashette. Is the vibranium long knife ready? Harley Quinn chewed his gum, spit out a bubble, and popped it, showing a fair and beautiful face. Not yet. Bart bite the bullet and said. Gudong. Harley Quinn stared. In a hurry, he swallowed the chewing gum directly into his stomach. What did you say? Harley Quinn grabbed Bart directly by the collar. He said viciously, do you want to die? How fast can you make a vibranium long knife? Natasha Romanoff said coldly. 12 hours. Bart swallowed, his body trembling slightly. From the people around him, he felt the murderous aura that seemed to be absent. 12 hours passed, and the daylily was cold. Now every passing minute will cause huge amounts of damage. Money is second, and the most important thing is human life. Once the battle spreads to other streets, the losses will be multiplied countless times. I killed him, you have no objection. Harley Quinn's beautiful eyes narrowed, flashing with danger. She was already mentally abnormal, and she didn't mind killing military scientists on the military's territory. Before Bart could react, a snow-white hand grasped his neck. Ahem, it takes a long time to melt two metals. Bart explained in a panic. By the way, we can use nuclear reactors, and the temperature can reach 10 times that of the sun's surface in an instant. A female scientist next to her spoke. If a centrifuge is used, the two metals can be quickly integrated. In this way, the time can be shortened to half an hour. The rest of the scientists also made suggestions. Then what are you waiting for? Phil Coulson shouted. But those machines are all in use. A scientist whispered. Stop it all. However, the things in the machine are related to the latest nuclear warhead materials, and their value is immeasurable. Preliminary calculation, about 300 million. Fact, I said, stop everything. Phil Coulson drew his gun directly, as if someone was talking nonsense, and killed him with a single shot. Several scientists around jumped into action. Into the laboratory. Start operating the machine. Then began to do their most despised job of melting metal. Who was this vibranium long knife made for? Oh my god, it's too scary, so many forces have been mobilized. Shut up and work hard, if we fail to manufacture, we will be killed by the group of people outside. Bart shrank his neck, he swore that this was the most serious job in his life. But Yi Tian has not realized it yet. One sentence of his own shocked half of the high-level officials in the lighthouse country. On the streets of New York, the concrete pavement is full of cracks. Burning vehicles exploded from time to time. The collapsed street lamp flashed a bright light from time to time. The whole street is in a mess at the moment. The agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. appears. Arrange for the evacuation of ordinary people who survived. Boom. A car was ablaze and thrown into the crowd. God, help me. Majafak, that monster. The crowd panicked. Several S.H.I.E.L.D. agents subconsciously drew their guns. Then I realized that in this situation, things like guns are useless. Get out of the way. Just when they were desperate, a figure ran over at a high speed. Yi Tian's body spinning in the air. Throw out a whip leg. Rumble. The burning car was directly kicked away. It exploded in the air. Take them away quickly. Yi Tian had just finished speaking when he saw the abomination rushing away crazily. In the other direction, Hulk also rushed over, targeting Yi Tian as well. Abomination and Hulk have only one thought now. Get rid of Yi Tian, the annoying ant, and then have a good fight. Grandma, why are you looking for me? Yi Tian's scalp was numb. I am a persuasion. Seeing Rage's two-headed monster, Yi Tian retreated again and again. Banner, I'll help you again, sober up. Yi Tian tried to awaken Banner's will in Hulk. However, the huge Hulk didn't respond at all. Boom. Yi Tian was punched in the face by Hulk. Bones broke and blood spattered. Yi Tian's body was rolling on the ground like a torn sack. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart sank. The group of ordinary people who evacuated even shed tears. When danger strikes, everyone is overwhelmed. The military just treats them as ants. Only Yi Tian, in the most critical moment, has been protecting them. Woo, Mom, he's dead, he's dead. Son, don't cry, woo woo. These two monsters really deserve to die. The sound of several children crying sounded, followed by many people crying too. Sorrow spread quickly. Many soldiers also felt heavy. They all saw Yi Tian's behavior. Hulk, I hate your girlfriend. A Rage's voice sounded. The crying people around were stunned for a moment. Immediately, Yi Tian was seen rushing out of the deep pit. There are golden runes all over his body. From a distance, it looks like a god that is filled with golden light and suppresses all evil in the world. Covered by the golden light, Yi Tian became the most beautiful boy on the street. Mom, he's not dead. The little girl wiped away the tears on her face and jumped up excitedly. The people around also let out a long sigh of relief, with smiles on their faces. He's still alive, the adjutant said in surprise. Rose's tense body also slowly relaxed. He didn't mind at all that Yi Tian wanted to rape his daughter. Great, Yi Tian is fine. Betty jumped up excitedly, waving her arms. Seeing this scene, the two agents protecting her had weird faces. People want to rape you, and they are still beating your boyfriend. Is it really okay for you to do this? Yes, Yi Tian is hitting Hulk right now. Yi Tian seized the opportunity and directly leaned forward. He's only a quarter of Hulk's strength. But the combat skills are directly full. Compared to Hulk and Abomination who only use brute force. Yi Tian used his strength to attack Hulk's joints. For a moment, he beat Hulk. Hulk of Rage growled hoarsely. Like a powerful sound wave. Yi Tian's body froze, and his constantly attacking rhythm was interrupted. Hulk punched out violently, and this angry punch produced a deafening sonic boom. Yi Tian's eyes were sharp, and the golden runes all over his body flowed quickly. The surface vibrates like a stream of water, constantly dissolving the power of this punch. This is the defense method studied by Yi Tian, which combines the unique wisdom of the Oriental people. The whole Kamar Taj, only he will. The only disadvantage is that it consumes too much energy and cannot last. In comparison, Ancient One's way of summoning a barrier, or a shield, seemed much vulgar. At this time, the abomination also raged and ran over from a distance. Hoo-hoo. The scorching breath formed two air columns. The stench exuded, and Yi Tian was dizzy from the smoke. At this moment, Yi Tian was under attack. Whoosh. At this moment, an arrow shot from a distance, hitting the knee of the abomination. Dee-dee. The urgent siren sounded. The arrow suddenly exploded. The intense flames engulfed the abomination. Hawkeye. Yi Tian's eyes lit up. Shield's support finally arrived. In the distance, a vigorous figure sprang out from the shadows and kept shooting arrows with a bow. Each arrow has a unique effect. Either squirt yellow slime glue, or turn into huge amounts of web. When did you come here? Yi Tian took 2 steps back, avoiding Hulk's attack. 5 minutes ago. Yi Tian stopped breathing. Then what are you waiting for? The battle just now was full of dangers, and Hawkeye had already arrived, so he didn't even make a move. The main character always appears at the last moment. Hawkeye straightened his back and said coldly. Yi Tian. Yi Tian didn't know how to answer the call. He just wanted to throw Hawkeye between the Hulk and the abomination. Let him experience the feeling of being ravaged by 2 behemoths. The defense of these 2 monsters is too high to break through. Hawkeye shot another arrow and said in a deep voice. I don't know why that fellow Phil Coulson took a vibranium long knife for so long, Yi Tian said. The golden runes on his body surface slowly dissipated, shaking his head. The excessive use of mental power made him a little tired. The vibranium long knife is coming. An energetic voice sounded. Quicksilver suddenly appeared. He threw the vibranium long knife in his hand. Yi Tian lifted his spirits and took the vibranium long knife. The color is that the blade is slender and the length is 4 feet. The color is an understated and luxurious dark gold. But the silver-white texture on it is very cool. The blade is extremely sharp, and you can feel the sharpness just by looking at it. Brother-in-law, thank you for your help. Yi Tian touched the blood on his face, held a long knife, and rushed towards Abomination. He looks like he is bleeding all over, but with the help of the self-healing factor, his skin is not broken. Quicksilver was stunned for a moment. Brother-in-law, what do you mean? He turned to look at Hawkeye. What are you calling? Go, Hawkeye said. Hate shredded the high-fiber web on his body, and his scarlet eyes exuded madness. Death. Hate's huge body rushed over, and with every step, the stones on the ground were crushed into powder. The muscles of Yi Tian's whole body were tense, and the terrifying aura was like a storm, sweeping around. Lifting the knife, he sighed, holding the handle tightly with his fingers. The abomination carried a berserk aura, and its terrifying punch stirred up the air around it. Before the fist arrived, the wind of the fist was already surging like a sea tide. Faced with this shocking punch, Yi Tian was as firm as a rock and stood still. All the spirit and strength of the whole body are concentrated in this knife. Zheng, a crisp sound appeared. Everyone saw a thin line of knife light cut through the air, tear apart the space. The light of the knife flashed away. Time seemed to stand still at this moment. The hatred didn't move, his eyes were wide open and he froze in place. After a few seconds, the taupe skin began to crack. A knife mark running through the whole body appeared, almost splitting him in half. Blood with a faint green glow in the red rushes out. It splashed on Yi Tian's face and body. There was a dead silence all around. This shocking knife made their scalps tingle. To be honest, they didn't see the knife clearly. However, the scar that tore through the entire chest made people know the power of this knife. Neither the armor-piercing projectile nor the bomb hurt this monster. This knife is too terrifying. Vibranium long knife, is it so sharp? You know what a fart, without strong power, this knife can't cut through the monster's skin at all. Several generals were well informed and took the lead in waking up. The hatred trembled twice, and fell to the ground with a bang. He didn't die, and the wound was healing quickly. But in a short time, there was no room for resistance. Yi Tian panted heavily, his head was in a daze, and his arms trembled slightly. The blow just now was not as simple as it seemed. His spiritual power and strength were condensed together, and they were all poured into the blade. Otherwise, it would not be able to create such a great power. Hoo-hoo, Yi Tian panted heavily, turning his palms again, ready to deal the final blow to the abomination. Hulk, smash! Hulk in the distance ran over and punched the exhausted Yi Tian. Quicksilver reacted quickly and pulled Yi Tian to avoid the attack. Can you still make that cut? Sweat was dripping from Quicksilver's brow. Standing next to Hulk just now, the huge pressure made it difficult for him to breathe. It's hard to imagine how Yi Tian fought against a monster like Hulk. 1 minute, Yi Tian panted heavily. That knife looked ordinary, but it gathered all the strength of the whole body. Yi Tian, we're back. In the distance, Phil Coulson ran over. Beside him stood 2 beauties. It was Natasha Romanoff and Harley Quinn. Big green guy, you're so disobedient, watch me teach you a lesson. Harley Quinn rushed over with her twin tails flicking. The baseball bat in his hand swung at Hulk. Don't come over, Yi Tian shouted. Without fighting Hulk, I don't understand how terrifying it is. Harley Quinn is stronger than normal, but limited. Not out of the human category, it is more than enough to deal with some special forces and little Kayla Rice. It's not enough to deal with a terrifying existence like Hulk. HMPH, don't underestimate me, I can smash the brain out of this monster. Harley Quinn's eyes sparkled with excitement, showing no fear at all. Neurotic, she likes danger, which reminds her of her days with Joker. Exciting, extraordinary, every second has an extraordinary feeling. Hulk, smash! Hulk began to charge his arms and slapped Harley Quinn. Terrifying force compresses the air, creating a shockwave. Rumble. A powerful shockwave rushed towards Harley Quinn. Wherever they went, the ground cracked, vehicles rolled, and stones jumped. Harley Quinn's face was pale. At this time, she realized the gap with Hulk. However, that shockwave has already arrived. Don't make trouble. At this moment, a magnetic voice sounded, followed by a kick in the buttocks. Harley Quinn looked over, just in time to see the figure of Etienne blocking the front. I don't know why, but my heart trembled suddenly. Boom! Etienne's whole body was thrown into the air, and he hit the wall heavily. Hulk, smash! Hulk slammed his fists on his chest and roared deafeningly. Eyes full of tyranny and destructive desire. Banner, wake up, don't be like this anymore. Betty ran over from a distance and stopped in front of Etienne. A pair of beautiful big eyes are full of tears. Banner, please, Etienne is here to save you. If you want to kill me too. Hoo-hoo, Hulk gasped, struggling in his eyes. Betty reached out her hands to stroke Hulk. Hulk, smash. Hulk covered his head, trying to suppress the anger in his body, however, he failed. With a loud roar, the terrifying coercion spread towards the surroundings. Get away, Etienne shouted. Betty fell to the ground. A terrifying sword glow brushed across her scalp. A few strands of golden hair fluttered in the air. When Etienne slashed out with this knife, all the strength in his body was exhausted, and he fell to the ground with a thud. Ah! Hulk let out a scream, and there was a deep scar on his chest. A large amount of green blood gushed out like a fountain, rushing towards Etienne and Betty. Boom! Hulk staggered back 2 steps and fell directly to the ground. The chest wound is constantly healing. The body size is also gradually shrinking. This battle in New York is completely over. But Etienne was pleasantly surprised to find that there was a trace of gamma energy in his body. What's happening here? At this moment, a concerned voice interrupted Etienne's thinking. Betty quickly supported Etienne, and asked softly, "Are you okay?" "It's okay." Etienne leaned against the wall and stood up, leaning on the knife. Harley Quinn ran over and supported Etienne. He provocatively said to Betty, "You go to see your boyfriend." Embarrassment flashed across Betty's face, and she hurried to see Banner lying in a pool of blood. Harley Quinn looked at Etienne with beautiful eyes, full of curiosity. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Etienne felt uncomfortable being stared at. Harley Quinn showed a pitiful look. "You kicked me just now, and my ass is still hurting." "Ouch, come on, take off your pants, I'll show you." Etienne joked. The Hulk and the Abomination were defeated, the danger cleared, and his mind relaxed. "Would you like to come to Suicide Squad? I can show you every day." Harley Quinn licked her lips with her little tongue. "No." Etienne rolled his eyes. "Flirty is flirtatious. Don't talk too much about work, it hurts your feelings." The Hulk thing came to an end. Etienne woke up unsteadily after sleeping in the hospital for a whole day. He wasn't hurt, he just didn't get up in the morning. Straight away on sick leave. "God, you're not hurt." Phil Coulson looked Etienne up and down, shaking the inspection report in his hand. After such a fierce battle, Etienne didn't have any scars all over his body. How unbelievable it is. Etienne smiled without saying a word. This is the effect of the self-healing factor. Just like yesterday's injury, he recovered in minutes. Young people are full of firepower and recover faster, as it should be. Phil Coulson, how did things go after that? Etienne asked. "I heard that Ross went to court-martial." The Hulk incident was filmed. What's ridiculous is that the reporter was brought by Ross himself. This is also self-inflicted. To prevent Hulk from joining the Avengers. Deliberately intercepted on the streets of New York. Hundreds were killed and thousands were injured. Research out the abomination of this monster. Shoot the Hulk, causing it to go berserk. If it wasn't for Etienne's 1 against 2, seriously injuring Abomination and Hulk, the consequences would have been disastrous. According to expert estimates, the loss will be as high as hundreds of billions of dollars. These evidences are enough for Ross to be punished by law. The military came forward and Rose was taken away, saying that the court will be held in 3 months. Phil Coulson sighed. Etienne frowned. After 3 months, the daylilies were all cold. Time to go through the motions. Ross will not be punished in any way. Classic PR trick. Ross has a very high status in the military. Phil Coulson looked surprised. When it comes to the position of general, the interests behind it are intricate. Even if you make a major mistake, you will not be punished. Hundreds of people died in vain. Yi Tian asked after being silent for a moment. I don't know why, but my heart seems to be blocked by a big stone. Phil Coulson patted Yi Tian on the shoulder. This world is not black and white. Just open your eyes and close your eyes, we can't control that much. Quote. You can save so many people, that's enough. By the way, you are a celebrity now, and you are a mess on the internet. Phil Coulson changed the subject and said happily. The video of Yi Tian fighting Hulk and Abomination was uploaded on the internet. With 1 against 2, the figure of trying to turn the tide. It's so chic. He is regarded as a hero by the entire Lighthouse country. Yi Tian didn't speak, feeling a little depressed. Hey, you're awake. Harley Quinn came in chewing gum at the door of the ward. A pair of long legs glowing white in the sun. What do you want to do? Let me tell you, Yi Tian is from S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson eyed Harley Quinn warily. This nervous woman has always wanted to pull Yi Tian into the Suicide Squad. Listen to the name, it is a serious organization. Live well, don't commit suicide. Yi Tian is a superhero, not a super criminal. Harry Quinn didn't seem to hear it, and sat on the bedside with a smile. Look at the internet, it's already full of noise. What do you mean? Yi Tian asked doubtfully. At this time, another soldier came to the door. With a faint smile, Yi Tian, you are not seriously injured. I expressly thank you on behalf of the military. As he spoke, 2 soldiers behind him came over, holding flowers and fruits. Why did the military come here? If it weren't for S.H.I.E.L.D., Ross would not have gone to such great lengths to take the risk. If it weren't for Yi Tian, Rose wouldn't have been scolded by the whole network. After suffering such a big loss, I still come to visit myself now. There is something tricky in it. Oh, it's very badly hurt. Yi Tian rolled his eyes and coughed twice. You guys did this, should you pay me 1.8 million for medical expenses? Phil Coulson nodded seriously. The adjutant chuckled. It should. Then he took out a file. If it's convenient for you, just sign it. Yi Tian took the file, his face suddenly gloomy. The content of the file is simple. General Ross stops the Hulk from going berserk. Although there was an accident in the middle, Hulk was finally defeated. And fighting on the front line to minimize losses should be rewarded. The group of ordinary people outside made a lot of trouble, and General Ross insisted on apologizing. What the hell are they, asking a general to apologize? Quote. The adjutant said fiercely. Yi Tian understood. All live. Saw General Ross's order to attack the sober Hulk. It caused Hulk to go crazy from protecting humans. The military, on the other hand, wanted to suppress this matter. As for why it should be suppressed, it is a game between politics. Yi Tian didn't understand, and didn't want to understand. You are very famous now, as long as you sign and appear in court to speak for General Ross. As for the reward, the military will definitely not let you down. As long as Yi Tian signs and stands on Rose's side, the public opinion on the internet will turn around. It's time to carry out another net clean operation. This matter will be like sand, dissipating between heaven and earth. The smile on the adjutant's face became more obvious, and he looked at Yi Tian with confidence. No one will refuse this thing. As long as you say a few words and sign your name, you can get a favor from the military. This is simply a sale and purchase without loss, and a fool would disagree. What about the hundreds of lives? Yi Tian looked down at the document with a low voice. It's only a few hundred lives, and death is death. The adjutant said. What did they ask Ross to do? Yi Tian looked up. This group of beasts dared to ask General Ross to hold a press conference to apologize. The adjutant's face was full of anger. General Ross is a hero who protects the country. Their family's fate is a fart, a bunch of sluts. Yeah, really cheap. Yi Tian's shoulders trembled, and his voice became deeper and deeper. The family members died, and they just asked for an apology. Hearing this, the smile on the adjutant's face suddenly froze. What do you mean? Yi Tian raised his head, his eyes were slightly red. Let Ross apologize. The decedent's family doesn't want much, just an apology. The adjutant's figure darkened. Yi Tian, I admit that you are very powerful. But if you think about it carefully, it is really for hundreds of ordinary people. Offend the entire military. This is irrational. Quote. Get lost, don't force me to do it. Yi Tian's voice turned cold. Harley Quinn pulled out a baseball bat. Didn't hear you. Get out. Okay, Yi Tian, just wait and see. The adjutant snorted coldly. Stupid thing, really thought he was a hero. You can fight. The control of political public opinion, I will play you to death. The gate of the White House. Thousands of people gathered on the wide road. They are all relatives of the dead. Gathering together and blocking the entrance of the White House is to demand an explanation. Let Ross apologize and give us an explanation. Come out, don't hide in there. Ross was a murderer, an executioner who murdered hundreds of people. Decedent family members use wooden plaques to write the names of the deceased family members. Pulled a long banner, saying the government's inaction. A little girl holds a photo of her mother, standing in front of the crowd, crying loudly. She is only 6 years old. The mother was torn in two by the abomination in front of her. More and more people joined the demonstrations. Within 2 hours, tens of thousands of people marched. White House conference room. Ross and several generals, including several well-connected congressmen sitting together. The group of stupid people outside are still demonstrating. A congressman said with a blank expression. Hee, if the parade is useful, what do we need to do? HMPH, a bunch of guys want General Ross to apologize. What were they doing when we were leading the troops in battle? We gave them the space to live and gave them the chance to march. Get mad at me, shoot them down with one shot. Quote. Donald pounded hard on the brown tabletop. Don't worry, let the bullets fly for a while, they can march for a day, 2 days, and a month. Half a year. Trump smiled, with strategic wisdom in his eyes. They need to live, there is no way to keep fighting. We only need to drag and cut the video on the internet, and the direction of public opinion will change. They guys can't do anything. Ross was also a high-ranking general. And they are still lowly civilians. Quote. Donald snorted, I don't understand the sloppy minds of you congressmen. Ross stood up with his coffee. Through the window to see the crowd of demonstrators outside. His waist was straight, and there was disdain in his sharp eyes. Parade to protest. On the contrary, it was the most helpless and helpless move. He is a general, and his status is very high in the entire lighthouse country. Standing behind is a person of the same status. Hundreds of lives are nothing more than death. Not to mention, the emergence of hatred. It means that their experiment is about to succeed. Once mass production is possible, the lighthouse country will become the sole overlord of this planet. Everyone knows how big the benefits are. This is a credit to heaven. Not to mention hundreds of people died. That is, thousands, tens of thousands of people died. Nor can it erase his achievements. To put it bluntly, even if he wanted to die, the members and president of the Beacon country would not let him be surprised. I am destined to go down in history. Your demonstrations are useless. Time flickered tonight. Under the arrangement of caring people, different voices began to appear on the internet. General Ross arrived at the scene immediately to destroy the green monster. If it weren't for General Ross, there would only be more dead. You keyboard warriors, you didn't see General Ross put himself in danger. What a great leader you want an apology from. The ones who should apologize are you fool who only rant on the internet. Quote. I was there and General Ross was selfless and at the forefront of the fight. Some voices, fueled by caring people, appeared on the web. At the same time, many edited videos circulated. General Ross inside is specially rendered. Coupled with exciting music, it seems like a big hero. Gradually, some people began to believe in General Ross and speak for him. However, more people don't believe it. I don't believe in anyone, I only believe in Yi Tian. This topic has been pushed to the top of the hot search and dominate the list for a long time. Yes, in the video, he repeatedly put himself in danger in order to save the crowd. In order to save people, block 2 monsters with my own power. With a shocking blow, the monster was seriously injured. Such a person is a good person, and I only believe Yi Tian's words. Quote. The upstairs said it well, let's see what the hero Yi Tian has to say. The vortex of this matter once again involved Yi Tian. It's different from people who blindly worship Yi Tian. There are also some people who take a wait-and-see attitude. Yi Tian saved many people and defeated 2 monsters. But, would he dare to identify General Ross? Once a voice for the dead masses. What Yi Tian offended was the entire top management of the Beacon country. Even if those people really died, so what? They're just a bunch of normal people. Facing a behemoth like General Ross, is it possible to win? Come on, Yi Tian dared to show up. For the sake of hundreds of ordinary people, offending General Ross. Offending the military. They're all adults, and they're talking about interests. In this world, fighting and killing are not about fighting and killing, but about the ways of the world. This kind of argument has a lot of people on the internet. They have only one idea. No matter who is right or wrong. It is impossible for Yi Tian to stand on the side of ordinary people. If you offend the military, how will you live in the future? The quarrel on the internet did not tell the winner, but the sun rose as usual. Early the next morning, on the street in front of the White House, a large number of people gathered again. Thousands of people gathered to demand an apology from Ross. Inside the White House, the meeting between the military and lawmakers has just ended. General Ross walked with several congressmen. General Ross, those people are blocking the door again. It's really difficult, the adjutant said angrily. Ross smiled indifferently. Hee, let's see if they can last for a few days, a bunch of stupid guys. The adjutant spoke again. Those guys still want Yi Tian to speak for them, I'm really laughing to death. Haha, how could someone dare to offend the military and General Ross because of them? 1 megapixel laughed. The vehicles of General Ross and many congressmen appeared at the gate of the White House. The crowd shouted excitedly, give us an explanation, Falk, don't go. General Ross, apology to our dead loved ones. A group of soldiers pointed guns at the crowd to prevent them from rioting. A bunch of beasts, the adjutant cursed angrily. Ross sat in the car, looking sullen. Vehicles continued to operate as usual. The demonstrators were enveloped in a wave of sadness. They are just ordinary people who can do nothing but march and demonstrate. It would be nice if the hero Big Brother was here. A little girl spoke. He won't come. Forget it, no one will help us. People around are depressed. No one, anyone, will offend the entire senior leadership of the Beacon country for them. No, the hero Big Brother will definitely come. You are not allowed to insult the hero Big Brother. The little girl clenched her fists and shouted unwillingly. The people around didn't want to explain, they all shook their heads and smiled wryly. In the adult world, there is no right or wrong. Only benefits. For the sake of hundreds of ordinary people, offend the high-ranking military. No fool would do it. Hero Big Brother is here. The little girl cheered suddenly, her face flushed with excitement. Everyone turned their heads abruptly. Suddenly, he saw a figure walking over. Facing the sun, every step is so firm. He was dressed in commoner clothes and had a tall and straight figure. Leaning on a knife, blocking the entrance of the White House. Stop all MPs and military vehicles. The shiny bald head showed the identity of the visitor. Yi Tian's shadow was stretched very long by the rising sun. This figure stopped at the entrance of the White House without hesitation. Yi Tian, what do you want to do? The adjutant lowered the window and shouted angrily. Yi Tian, several congressmen frowned. This person in front of me. The one who beat the Hulk and the Abomination the night before. Now it seems that this person seems to be on the opposite side of them. Several councillors looked gloomy. I didn't expect Yi Tian to be so bold. Dare to defy them. Ross, apologize to the hundreds of people who died. Yi Tian said coldly. The adjutant blushed anxiously. What apology, what nonsense are you talking about? Trump Rip said. Yi Tian, what are you trying to do by blocking us at the gate of the White House? Still want to kill us? You don't care about the law too much. Quote. You drive him away. Several special forces surrounded Yi Tian with submachine guns. If you don't want to die, just get out of the way. Yi Tian glanced over coldly. Several special soldiers felt tense and did not dare to step forward. They can guard the White House, so they are naturally the kings of soldiers. However, facing Yi Tian, they didn't have any confidence. Swept by Yi Tian's cold eyes. Even under the sun, I already feel cold all over. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. Yi Tian kills the crossbones and defeats the Winter Soldier. Even with 1 against 2, he defeated the 2 monsters Hulk and Abomination. It is a lie to say that you are not afraid. Yi Tian, we have important matters, you are blocking the door here, do you know how many things have been delayed? Believe it or not, I'll arrest you. Quote, fake, come here, arrest him for me. The rest of the congressmen also opened their mouths and cursed angrily. Yi Tian stood still, not retreating an inch. Shut up, believe it or not, if I kill you all, I can still get out. There was a loud shout, carrying a murderous aura. All the congressmen turned pale with fright and dared not speak. They have a feeling, if I say a few more words, the black gold long knife that is leaning on it will come out mercilessly. After a short period of astonishment, the parade cheered. The figure in the memory of drawing the sword and defeating the monster slowly integrates with the figure in front of him. Tears blurred their eyes. Finally, someone is willing to stand on their side. Many people raised their mobile phones, took pictures of Yi Tian, and posted them on the internet. The entire network instantly exploded. Mommy Falk, alone, blocking the White House and yelling at congressmen and the military. It was too hot, and I felt a shudder all over me. Quote, hey, can you see that? When Yi Tian appeared, the little girl's eyes lit up. Breaking the defense, just tearing up. Quote, Yi Tian is so awesome, he really dared to stand up, I was so excited that I had a heart attack. Oh Likra, this is a real man. The cowardly is angry, but he draws his blade towards the weaker. The brave man is angry, and draws his blade towards the stronger. Yi Tian is undoubtedly a strong man. The entire network, at this moment, has an extremely large number of people online. The overwhelming discussion is about Yi Tian. Definitely also said Yi Tian pretend. Basically, they were scolded by the huge army and had no room to fight back. Pretend, you pretend to have a try. Many people in New York, who were off work, came to watch. Many students skipped classes directly. The name Yi Tian resounded throughout the entire Beacon country. Mutant Brotherhood base. Magneto stared at the screen dumbfounded. For most of his life, he felt crazy for the first time. This Yi Tian is too awesome. Mystique kept changing her body excitedly. I've never seen such a person, unscrupulous. Unscrupulous. Wanda's red lips moved slightly, and the corners of her mouth curled up in a subtle arc, feeling extremely happy in her heart. This is my man. At the moment Stark Industrial Building. Iron Man is modifying the mech. JARVIS, pull up the latest news. Okay, Mr. Tony. The voice of electronic synthesis sounded. Then, a virtual screen appeared. All content is Yi Tian's. Yi Tian. These 2 days, Tony went to a foreign country and didn't know what happened. After a while, Tony couldn't help but gasped after reading Yi Tian's news. I'm Tfark. This is too much. Tony was dumbfounded. In the last second, he was quite proud of becoming Iron Man and joining the Avengers. Now, I just feel ashamed. Yi Tian's behavior is what a real man should do. JARVIS, prepare the battle armor, I'm going to watch the excitement. Tony said excitedly. He is very interested in Yi Tian. Suicide Squad. Amanda's eyes lit up. Yi Tian blocked the entrance of the White House, blocking congressmen and several military generals. After offending so many people, Fury couldn't keep him. Yi Tian will definitely be arrested as a troublemaker. When the time comes, you can join the Suicide Squad. Behind her, several people from Suicide Squad had madness in their eyes. They're all super criminals. The spirit is not normal either. Seeing what Yi Tian did, I trembled with excitement. Harley Quinn's beautiful eyes sparkled even more, and she constantly chanted Yi Tian's name. What is madness? This is madness. In comparison, Joker planted several bombs and killed several people. Dominating in the little Gotham City, it's just a small fight. Unknowingly, all the obsession with Joker in her mind turned into obsession with Yi Tian. Yi Tian, you are so charming, I want to find a chance to eat you. Harley Quinn stuck out her lovely tongue and licked her red lips lightly. At the moment Phil Coulson looked at Fury anxiously. Director, what should we do now? Yi Tian is too reckless. It's okay now, offended everyone. Fury's expression didn't change. It's not convenient for S.H.I.E.L.D. to come forward about this matter. Yi Tian fights against Hydra for Wanda, such a person has the most affection. What Yi Tian did now didn't surprise him too much. Then what should we do? Watch Yi Tian die, Phil Coulson said anxiously. After offending so many people, Yi Tian's fate will definitely be extremely miserable. My agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not easy to kill, Fury said with a smile. Looking at Fury's calm look, Phil Coulson knew that the latter had already had a countermeasure. He secretly scolded the old fox in his heart. Chapter 31. The Gate of the White House. The crowd got bigger and bigger. The appearance of Yi Tian was like a silent declaration. Rose's crime was thoroughly established. This Yi Tian is so bold. The generals of the other military forces looked ugly. What Yi Tian did was equivalent to slapping them in the face. Rose's complexion was ashen, and his chest kept heaving. Yi Tian, what on earth are you trying to do? The adjutant spoke again. In this situation, persuade Yi Tian to go back is the best solution. Otherwise, the more people gather, the more serious the matter will be. Apologize. Yi Tian took a step forward, with murderous intent. Behind him, thousands of people also walked together. Shout out in unison. Apologize. These two words condensed the anger of everyone, and the momentum was huge, rolling in. Fake, you want to rebel. The adjutant panicked. Shoot, shoot. Dozens of special forces bravely surrounded him from both sides and loaded their guns. Stand back, or we will really shoot. Don't force us. Their scalps are numb and they are in a dilemma. On the one hand as the superior leader, on the other as the general trend of the world and the aspiration of the people. Especially Yi Tian, exuding a terrifying aura all over his body. The sword glow in his hand is not letting go, and it is constantly accumulating strength. Once the knife is released, it will definitely be a catastrophe. Yi Tian, we are MPs, are you challenging the authority of the Lighthouse State? Do you know how many people you offended like this? Several congressmen cursed and even threatened. Their status is high, and they were blocked at the door a few times. The eyes are on the buttocks, you only recognize clothes but not people. Yi Tian had a mocking face. This group of people has been aloof for too long, and they have forgotten the sufferings of the world for a long time. Forget that in this world, the group is the one who is in charge. I also forget that they are just elected by the people to benefit the people. The complexions of many members of parliament were brushed for a while. Although I don't know much about Eastern poetry. But these two sentences, they can still understand. Yi Tian was scolding them for being complicit, indiscriminate, and without conscience. Ross, otherwise, you should apologize first. Trump groaned for a moment, then spoke slowly. General Ross's expression changed, but he didn't speak. Once he apologizes, he will bear infamy. This stain is difficult to erase. Inside the carriage, Trump sighed. The necessary softness is a strategic retreat, and it is also for better victories in the future. Rose clenched his hands tightly. Looking at Yi Tian fiercely through the window, this little idiot is really an eyesore. Trump chuckled. He blocked the entrance of the White House. He looked majestic, but he was extremely stupid. He can't afford our revenge. At that time, no one will help him. A stupid enemy, no matter how powerful it is not scary. What's scary are those smart enemies, hiding in the dark. I don't know when, I will stab you with a knife. You're right. Rose's sharp eyes flashed a cold light, like a hunting eagle. The car window was lowered slowly, and Rose stepped down, standing upright. Looking at the endless crowd. Finally, his eyes fixed on Yi Tian. Okay, I apologize, to the hundreds of decedents. Bend down, Bo, Yi Tian uttered again. Yi Tian, don't go too far. The adjutant hurriedly stopped him. Clang, the knife in Yi Tian's hand moved suddenly. A long and narrow knife glow passed by. A knife marked 10 meters long appeared on the ground in front of the adjutant. The hard marble floor, like tofu, was cut neatly. Gudong. The adjutant swallowed a mouthful of spit, and the knife almost slashed against his scalp. Looking at the strands of hair swept by blade, the adjutant's scalp felt numb, and huge amounts of fear grew in his heart. Rose gritted his teeth, weighed the pros and cons, and bent over to the crowd. Yi Tian ignored Rose's cold eyes and turned to one side. It is the thousands of decedent family members who deserve an apology, rather than myself. The demonstrators held up the photos in their hands. The sun's rays shine on the photo wall, and those decedent photos seem to be smiling at this moment. Woo. General Ross apologized. Son, you can rest in peace. Mom, the hero uncle helped us. The anger that many people held in their hearts dissipated. At this moment, weeping with joy, one after another began to cry. Yi Tian, you will pay for this, Ross said in a deep voice. His voice was not loud, but it happened to be heard by Yi Tian. I'm smiling to the sky, and I'm going to save the Kunlun. Yi Tian smiled disdainfully, turned and left. In life, there are always things that are higher than life. Furthermore, is the request of these thousands of people too much? Their family members died, and they just asked for an apology. Yi Tian came to a corner. He took out a bunch of car keys and rode on his little electric donkey. This is a car from S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. Level 6 agent and above, equipped with bulletproof cars. Level 9 and above is even more outrageous, with extremely high authority. Even fighter jets and tanks can be mobilized. And Yi Tian, who just joined S.H.I.E.L.D., is still a first-level agent. Therefore, the car is a small e-donkey. Is it fun to scold? A beautiful figure walked into the alley and asked with a half-smile. Yi Tian looked up. The beauty in front of her has long wine-red hair. Convex figure. The appearance is even more beautiful, not inferior to Wanda. Those water-like eyes are breathtaking. But the most attractive thing is those red lips. Just looking at it can make many men think about it. If it is bitten by this lip, it is okay to lose 20 years of life. To describe it in one sentence, it is a charming and natural beauty, a stunning beauty. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. What is she here for? Very cool. Yi Tian answered truthfully. No regrets. No regrets. Natasha Romanoff's red lips curled into a smile. This man is really interesting. Where are you going? Natasha Romanoff asked. S.H.I.E.L.D. Exactly, give me a ride. Yi Tian rode a small electric donkey and took Natasha Romanoff towards S.H.I.E.L.D. Along the way, he attracted the attention of countless men. When it was time to wait for the traffic lights, the man in the BMW was lost in thought. What am I missing? Could it be that bald heads are popular now? While waiting for traffic lights on the road, a Maserati was parked nearby. The window was lowered, and a yellow-haired man with glasses blew a whistle. Sister, what can I do with the battery car? Come on, brother will take you for a drive. Natasha Romanoff snorted coldly, and didn't even look at the perverted man. This malicious invitation annoyed her. Otherwise, you can sit in that car, Yi Tian said. Natasha Romanoff's petite body froze, her eyes widened and she asked in disbelief, what do you mean? If you let me get in someone else's car, you won't be afraid of being bullied. Tisk. That's what I said. You are dignified Black Widow, the only 10th level agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. The famous superhero, a member of Avengers. Anyone who dares to bully you will have their brains shot out. No, you are too fat, my battery car is completely dead. Pardon. Hearing Yi Tian's helpless tone, the corners of Natasha Romanoff's eyes twitched, and his chest trembled with anger. On weekdays, how many men want to invite me, but I don't want to. Playboy Tony Stark is so obsessed with himself, so obsessed. Yi Tian actually said that he was fat. Where did I get fat? Where it should be big, and where it should be thin, it should be thin. Feeling the murderous intent behind him, Yi Tian quickly said, I was wrong. Good men don't fight women, definitely, except in bed. HMPH. Natasha Romanoff nodded contentedly, and Yi Tian, with a helpless face, crazily pedaled the battery car and rode forward, leaving behind the Maserati owner with a confused face, messing around at the intersection. S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson was followed by several agents. Seeing Yi Tian, he hurriedly said, Yi Tian, what do you think, blocking the entrance of the White House and scolding congressmen and the military? Your temper is just too stubborn. Phil Coulson hates iron but not steel. Banner didn't say anything about this matter, do you know why? Too many people have been offended, including the military, congressmen, and even the president. For the sake of hundreds of ordinary people, offend the entire senior management of the Beacon country. Phil Coulson grew more eager as he spoke. You can't be so impulsive in the future. Can't you be so impulsive in the future? Yi Tian raised his eyebrows, and heard the voice of the voice. Director Nick Fury is so good, this will keep him. According to Yi Tian's idea, if the government pushes him into a hurry. He took off his clothes directly and went out directly. Wait until you have fully acquired your Superman ability, then come back to punch it hard. But now, Fury seems to be keeping things down. Braised. Director Nick Fury put things down. Don't be so hippie, promise me, don't be so impulsive in the future. Facing the nagging Phil Coulson, Yi Tian was not impatient. He could sense that Phil Coulson really cared about him. Otherwise, the deputy director of S.H.I.E.L.D. would not be such a mother-in-law. At this moment, Phil Coulson suddenly sniffled. He looked at Yi Tian with strange eyes. Natasha Romanoff sent, say, what happened to you guys? The gossip looks very much like the ant chatting at the gate of the community. At this time, Natasha Romanoff just came over and was sorting clothes. Phil Coulson's eyes widened. We just met, Yi Tian explained. He understood that Natasha Romanoff didn't bother to explain. Why are you panting like this? Phil Coulson put his arm around Yi Tian's shoulder and winked. The battery car is dead, so I came here by riding. Yi Tian waved his hand helplessly. Natasha Romanoff said suddenly, give Yi Tian a car. Immediately, he took steps, stepped on high heels, and walked forward. That charming back made several agents drool all over the place. Phil Coulson touched his waist and took out a car key. I gave you my car. Hey, no, Yi Tian is a first-level agent, can he assign cars? It's just too unfair, several young agents shouted, their faces full of envy. They were in S.H.I.E.L.D. a few months earlier than Yi Tian, and they didn't get a car. You let a 10th-level agent speak in person, and I will also arrange one for you. Phil Coulson said in a deep voice. Several agents. In the entire S.H.I.E.L.D., the director and Natasha Romanoff are level 10 agents. This car, don't care. Soon, Phil Coulson brought Yi Tian to the conference room. Fury looked serious. The Arctic ice cracked, and a person was found in the ice. According to the information from the agent, it was initially judged to be Captain America. Captain America. Yi Tian was startled. This is a representative of the Avengers. The strongest soldier ever. An existence comparable to a god with a mortal body. Even recognized by Mjolnir, a fighter with 3 views. Yi Tian, you go with Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff. Fury continued speaking, just to avoid the limelight. Fury produced dozens of letters. These are all accusations against you, and you will be arrested as a criminal. Yi Tian took a general look. There are people from the political circles, and some from the military. Why help me? Yi Tian asked. He didn't think that Fury would offend so many people for the sake of a first-level agent. To resist such great pressure and protect yourself, you must have something to ask for. Fury smiled faintly. The lighthouse country is no longer the lighthouse country it used to be. The interior is rotten, and the higher-ups are doing everything for their own benefit. My mission is to protect the beacon country and watch it grow stronger. If you are sick, you need to be treated. The disease in the lighthouse country is already very serious. Yi Tian understood. I am that knife. Fury didn't refute. Yi Tian was not angry either. A wise man does not speak dark words. Before Yi Tian grows up, he needs the protection of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Fury also needs a person like Yi Tian who is not afraid of power. Both sides take what they need. By the way, can you help me investigate a person? Yi Tian asked. It's a magician, Caecilius. Fury nodded. I'll leave it to Hill. Yi Tian smiled slightly. Fury is interesting enough to arrange for a level 9 agent to take charge. Let's go, the plane is ready. Natasha Romanoff walked in with high heels. Yi Tian and Phil Coulson followed behind. The frozen Captain America is in the hands of the Atlanteans. Our mission is to retrieve Captain America through negotiations. Phil Coulson flipped through the document and explained from the side. The Arctic Circle is at a low temperature all year round and is covered with ice and snow all year round. In front of a house, several agents stood upright in the cold wind. They are in charge. I heard that the deputy director came in person this time. TCH, I heard that Yi Tian is here too. The situation is stable. Really, what the, I'm going to meet my idol. The Aquaman Namor of Atlantis has such a bad temper, dare to look down on his shield. Who do you think is better, Yi Tian or Namor? Quote, I bet Yi Tian can kill Namor with one punch. While they were talking, A plane flew in the sky. Blue flames were ejected from the tail, and the scorching high temperature melted the perennial snow and ice around it. Headquarters people are coming. Several agents tidied up their clothes and stood upright. "Ha, it's really cold," Phil Coulson said with emotion, wrapped in a big cotton jacket. "In just a few hours, I went directly from the lighthouse country in midsummer to the Arctic Circle in winter." Natasha Romanoff stepped on high heels. Her wine-red hair was blown by the cold wind, and her snow-white skin was even more holy under the reflection of ice and snow. That proud body, even a thick down jacket, can't stop it. "Yi Tian, why are you wearing such thin clothes? Isn't it cold?" Phil Coulson touched his nose and found that it was full of snot. Yi Tian smiled slightly. At this temperature, he has lived for 18 years. Cold, he just felt kind. "Deputy Director," several agents said respectfully. Phil Coulson nodded. The eyes of several agents paused slightly on Natasha Romanoff's face. Quickly shifted his gaze horizontally to Yi Tian. "Compared with beautiful women, idols are more important." Idol, nice to meet you, my name is Mike." "Great, it's alive, it's alive. Look at that knife." It was the knife that seriously injured Hulk and the Abomination, and it was also the knife that blocked the entrance of the White House to frighten everyone. Several agents blushed with excitement. With frenzy in his eyes, Yi Tian rubbed his nose and thought to himself, "Am I so hot now? I don't know if there are any girls throwing themselves in their arms. Let's report on the situation first." Phil Coulson rubbed his hands and walked into the room. The warm air conditioner made him moan comfortably. It was the Inuit who first discovered Captain America. Later, Aquaman Namor of Atlantis had a dispute with the Inuit, and the two sides fought. After Namor won, he ransacked the entire Inuit people, and the ice that froze Captain America was also taken away at that time. Our shield contacted Namor through Marcus, the largest local snake. Mike sighed when he said this. The agent on the side said with righteous indignation. Namor actually said that unless we help him attack Wakanda, we won't talk about it. HMPH, Namor opened his mouth too much, Phil Coulson said in a deep voice. Yi Tian frowned. Located in eastern Africa, Wakanda has been isolated from the rest of the world for centuries. On the surface, it is a poor and backward agricultural country. In fact, it has the most advanced technology on Earth. It also has the unique and rare resource vibranium. Coupled with the existence of the superhero Black Panther, it is almost impenetrable. Many countries that snooped on vibranium have been dealt with. We can only negotiate again, Phil Coulson said. The agent nodded. I'm going to contact Marcus right now. Soon, several people came to the town. Then enter a bar. It was very hot in the bar. There are also many people. The dancer is dancing hard. Under the flashing neon lights, many strong men shouted frantically. Continue, I will give you the money. Fact, it's so coquettish. Occasionally, I saw it, oh my god. The vulgar words, mixed with hooligan whistles, resounded throughout the bar. Several agents were also attracted. Eyes swept up and down the dancing girl. The dancing girl is plump. The close-fitting dress followed the hips, outlining the plump curves. Gudong, gudong. Several agents swallowed unconsciously. Yi Tian noticed that Phil Coulson was staring at him, so he whispered, "What are you looking at?" After scolding, he took a few glances himself. Man, that's it. When I see a beautiful woman with a good figure, I always subconsciously look twice more, and I can't control my gaze. Unless your wife or girlfriend is by your side, you can hold back with great perseverance. Aren't you watching too? Phil Coulson replied. Yi Tian whispered. Don't watch it, it won't make you feel uncomfortable. He is not a chicken, after tasting a woman, he knows what it is like. Wonderful, humph. A cold snort made the hairs of several people stand on end. Turning to look, I saw Natasha Romanoff with a cold face. After watching it, why do you feel uncomfortable? May I help you sober up? Natasha Romanoff said coldly. Yi Tian, they watch more, okay, why are you pissing me off? At the door of the box, several bodyguards scanned Yi Tian and the others. After Mike handed over a few banknotes with a large denomination, he nodded. In the box, Marcus, the largest local gangster, was lying comfortably on the sofa with a bald head, hugging two blonde beauties on the left and right. On the side, there are 4 bodyguards standing. Why are you here again? Marcus looked at Mike with a bad tone. Mike took out a box, which contained $100 bills, and visually estimated that there were $500,000. The identity of S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to be concealed. Their current identity is just a group of scientific researchers of a genetic company. Mike smiled and said, "Our leader wants that frozen corpse very much. Please help me and contact Aquaman Namo again. After it is done, I will thank you very much." As soon as Marcus was about to speak, he saw Natasha Romanoff with a cold face. His eyes lit up, and his breathing became heavy. Beauty, peerless beauty. Compared with this kind of beauty, the 2 women beside her are simply unsightly. "Okay, I can also contact her, she will stay with me all night," Marcus Semimi said, eyes full of desire. In the box, the atmosphere instantly dropped to freezing point. Agent Mike's face froze, and he hurriedly explained, "Mr. Marcus, we can add more money." Marcus snorted coldly, "Fact, I'm not short of money. A daughter is easy to get, but a beautiful woman is hard to find." He had never seen such a stunning beauty in front of him. "How could I let it go?" Phil Coulson frowned and showed his ID. "We are from the FBI, please cooperate." Marcus sneered. "This place is the North Pole. The FBI is a fart. Even the entire lighthouse country can't control me." After saying this, he stood up and walked towards Natasha Romanoff. "This place in the Arctic Circle belongs to the 3 no matter. It is useless for any country to come. Several towns around here. He Marcus is the boss, the king. If you don't agree today, you have to agree. Otherwise, don't even think about getting out of this door. Hold this woman down for me. After I've had a good time, you guys will have a good time too." When the 4 bodyguards heard this, their eyes lit up instantly. They had never seen such a stunning beauty as Natasha Romanoff. If you can have a good time, this life is worth it. Natasha Romanoff looked at the 5 perverted men who surrounded him. Her face was extremely cold. "You are looking for death. Looking for death. After a while, I will tell you that if you want to live, you must die." Marcus smiled lewdly. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. Boom. Marcus flew upside down and crashed directly into the wall of the box. Immediately afterwards, the other 4 bodyguards also flew out backwards, seriously injured and vomiting blood. "What?" In the other box, several couples who were acquainted with Guanbao exclaimed. "To deal with this kind of rotten person, give him money back." "What do you think?" Yi Tian snorted coldly and withdrew his fist. The movement of the box attracted the attention of the outside, and a dozen bodyguards rushed in. He took out his gun and aimed at Yi Tian and the others. "Fake, you dare to make trouble here. Hands up, or we'll shoot." More than a dozen guns were aimed at Yi Tian. "Ahem, if you dare to make trouble in my territory, I will kill you." Marcus stood up reluctantly, clutching his chest. If he hadn't been exercising regularly, his physical fitness would have reached the Special Forces level. That kick just now could directly kick him to death. "Stand back." Yi Tian tilted his head and lightly pressed his fingers on the scabbard. Natasha Romanoff stood in front of her with a dazed expression. Finally, he took 2 steps back obediently. She can handle a dozen bodyguards by herself. But, being protected by a man, this experience is the first time. Feeling not bad. Hee, Marcus is the local snake here, and someone dared to beat him. HMPH, this group of people is finished. No matter who they are, they dare not offend Marcus in this town. That bald head is dead, he will regret this punch. The customers in the bar stretched their necks to watch the excitement. You can't see such exciting things on weekdays. Long knife, bald head, why is it familiar? Hey, once you said it, I felt the same way. I always felt like I saw it somewhere. Do you all feel this way? Fark, it's so familiar, but I can't remember the name. The people around talked to each other. His eyes fell on Yi Tian, and he said doubtfully. Yi Tian, he is Yi Tian. Hiss. The people around instantly widened their eyes and gasped. Yi Tian, fake. Yi Tian actually came to us. Yi Tian, which Yi Tian? Don't you have internet at home? Yi Tian, who was seriously injured by 2 monsters on the streets of New York. Yi Tian, who was cursing lawmakers and the military at the gate of the White House. Marcus hit the iron plate this time. After a brief silence, the entire bar erupted in loud exclamations. Compared to Yi Tian, Marcus is nothing. You are Yi Tian. Marcus also widened his eyes. Yi Tian nodded. Snapped. Marcus slapped himself in the face. Grandma, I apologize, I'm such a idiot. Misunderstandings are all misunderstandings. The ferocity on Marcus's face disappeared, and he yelled at the subordinates around him. Mommy fake, what are you doing? You still haven't put down your guns. Boss, he kicked you just now. A gangster said. He was a little confused. Why did the boss reverse his mood so quickly? Marcus wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. You, don't talk nonsense. There was a trace of pride on Marcus's face. It is my honor to be kicked by Mr. Yi Tian. The other 4 bodyguards helped each other up. Their faces were pale, but their emotions were very excited. Being kicked and survived by Yi Tian is enough for them to brag about for a lifetime. The reversal of things left Phil Coulson and others dumbfounded. What's the situation? Yi Tian also had question marks on his face. Little did he know that his name had already resounded all over the world. Many people regard him as an idol. Among them, the gangsters are the most fanatical. Those who are righteous are mostly dog slaughterers, and those who are ruthless are mostly scholars. On the contrary, they pay more attention to friendship and love and hatred. 2 behemoths destroyed New York, and Yi Tian shocked them with a strong shot. However, what really made them tremble was that Yi Tian competed against the top management of the entire Beacon country for hundreds of decedents. That sentence, eyes grow on the buttocks, only recognize clothes but not people. Exciting. That sentence, I laugh to the sky from the sword, and I will keep my heart and gall in Kunlun. It makes people's blood boil. Idol, you are my idol. Marcus said excitedly. He rubbed his bald head with his palm. This one imitates your shaving. Fearing that Yi Tian wouldn't believe it, Marcus turned on his phone and dug out the old photos. Above is a big man with enviably thick hair. Mr. Yi Tian, I will contact Aquaman Namo right now, and you will take back the money. If you let the brothers know, don't poke my spine. Quote. Marcus was flushed and excited like a child. Phil Coulson's mouth twitched twice. Yi Tian, your face is really great. In the last second, Marcus didn't even pay attention to the lighthouse country, and he was extremely arrogant. Now, he was seriously injured by a kick, and his face was flushed with excitement. It is Phil Coulson who is well informed and not only a little confused. Marcus pulled out a conch and sent a summons. Marcus, how did you know Namor? Yi Tian couldn't help but speak. Marcus said respectfully. Hey, I was drinking at the beach. Seeing a man seriously injured, he was taken to the hospital. It was later revealed that he was Aquaman Namor of Atlantis. Quote. With his help, I gradually became the underground boss in several nearby towns. Usually help him buy some items. Quote. Yi Tian nodded. Well, can I touch your knife? Marcus rubbed his hands and asked embarrassedly. Yi Tian drew out the long knife. Yesterday, he asked Shield to make a scabbard out of alloy. Marcus wiped his palms over himself, then solemnly stretched out his hand. After receiving the vibranium long knife, his expression changed suddenly. This knife weighs 200 catties. Marcus used his arms hard to hold the long knife with difficulty. He's big and big, plus a long workout. Strength is top-notch among ordinary people. However, it is still difficult to wield the vibranium long knife. Marcus looked at Yi Tian with even more awe. Hard to imagine. What a powerful force Yi Tian possessed. Only then can he easily swing the vibranium long knife. The few gangsters around looked envious. Can touch Yi Tian's vibranium long knife. After gossip, you can play for a lifetime. Yi Tian smiled, and took the vibranium long knife casually. Just at this time, a group of people sprang out of the icy water in the distance. The leading man was dressed in golden armor, majestic and majestic. The exposed bronze muscles are full of explosive power. At the ankles, there are a pair of small wings. Granted him the flight ability. This person is none other than Aquaman Namor. Born to an American captain and Princess Fern of Atlantis. It can breathe freely underwater and has strong combat effectiveness. It is also a mutant. Mutant ability is flight. Take the throne as an adult and become king of Atlantis. Yi Tian remembered that Aquaman Namor was very powerful and defeated Wolverine. Even in water, relying on racial traits, defeated Hulk of Rage. Marcus, why did you subpoena me again? Holding the sea god trident, Namor said in a deep voice. Yi Tian rubbed his chin. I was a little puzzled in my heart. In his impression, the Aquaman of Atlantis should be the Aquaman of the DC universe as Arthur Curry. The root of identity is in full bloom. He is the son of Atlana, Queen of Atlantis, and Tom Curry, the lighthouse keeper. Now this Aquaman Namor, what does it have to do with Aquaman Arthur? Could it be that there are two Atlantis? Or, DC's Aquaman Arthur will disappear? On the other hand, Marcus explained what happened. Phil Coulson smiled. Let's reintroduce, we are S.H.I.E.L.D. people. I'm Deputy Commissioner Phil Coulson. Quote, Namor didn't even look at Phil Coulson, his eyes fell on Yi Tian. After looking at it for a moment, he opened his mouth slowly. You are Yi Tian. Yi Tian nodded and looked at Namor in the same way. He found that the Atlanteans behind Namor all had scars on their bodies. It seems that not long ago, there was a big battle. Help us attack Wakanda, and I will hand over that frozen man to you. Phil Coulson said in a deep voice, you can change the conditions. Namor's face darkened. The momentum suddenly changed. I'm talking to Yi Tian, what are you interrupting? Yi Tian touched his nose, a little embarrassed. He is the person in charge this time. The strong wind howled, disturbing the wind and snow. The scene was a little awkward. After a period of silence, Namor said, I really don't understand you humans, why you let a weak guy be the person in charge. In his opinion, among these people, only Yi Tian can command his respect. For the people of Atlantis, strength is the standard to measure a person's status. We, S.H.I.E.L.D., will not start any wars, Phil Coulson said. Attacking Wakanda, this matter, is absolutely impossible to agree to. Not even Fury would agree. Once the war starts, the cost will be extremely serious. Another condition, give us 1,000 human women for the Atlanteans to have fun with. The Namor language is not surprising, pointing to Natasha Romanoff with one hand, this woman must be included. Phil Coulson frowned. We are sincerely working with you. The Namor lion opened its mouth wide. The request was simply unacceptable. But you can't meet my conditions, Namor said with cold eyes. Get out, don't bother me anymore, or I'll be in a bad mood and kill you directly. Namor's eyes were murderous, and he didn't take Phil Coulson seriously. Phil Coulson said, Mr. Namor. Before he finished speaking, Namor was full of killing intent. If you dare to talk nonsense, you will die. The sea god trident in his hand swung out violently. Terrifying energy burst out from this artifact, stirring the surrounding space. Phil Coulson turned pale and backed away quickly. However, how could an ordinary person escape the blow of the mighty Aquaman? Clang. The sound of the knife being unsheathed sounded. Clang. Yi Tian held the vibranium long knife and blocked the blow. Buying and selling cannot be done with benevolence and righteousness. It is too much to kill people if they disagree with each other. Yi Tian's voice was low. Namor said disdainfully. He is a weak ant, and he is also assigned to trade with me. I didn't want to use violence, but you insisted on forcing me. Yi Tian burst out with a powerful aura from all over his body. Stronger than in New York 2 days ago. After these few days, most of the Kryptonian blood has been integrated. Flight's ability has been awakened. A mere Aquaman, he really doesn't care. Okay, you must be able to defeat me. I will give you the frozen human. Namor's eyes became sharper, and he let out a long whistle. The small wings at the ankles flapped, and the whole person flew into the air. The sea god trident in his hand glowed with golden light. No doubt, this is an artifact comparable to Mjolnir. He can fly. Phil Coulson's expression changed. When the two sides fight, whoever can fly is almost invincible. You can attack when you advance, and you can defend when you retreat. Including Natasha Romanoff, also changed her pretty face. Yi Tian smiled faintly, and rose into the air. Fact, you can also fly. Phil Coulson was shocked and stunned. Everyone was shocked. Yi Tian pulled a saber, his expression indifferent. I just learned it yesterday. Everyone, can you still learn this thing? A snow-white Arctic. The cold wind howled and the snowflakes fluttered. In the sky, Namor and Yi Tian stood in the air. Several Atlantis people had disdain in their eyes. Our king is invincible, this Yi Tian is really overwhelmed. Just defeated 2 huge monsters, but Aquaman fights fierce killer whales every day, and has never lost. Look, this Yitian will soon pierce the trident. Their voices are loud and undisguised. Phil Coulson is also a bit concerned, according to S.H.I.E.L.D. Aquaman Namor is pretty scary. The powerful physique of the owner, the Atlantean, is an alpha-level mutant. The sea god trident in his hand was even more divine. Under this heavy blessing, Rang's Namor is terrifying. Yitian, can you beat him? Phil Coulson said slowly to himself, his voice full of worry. Natasha Romanoff put her palms on her waist, her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Once Yitian loses, she will shoot quickly. If you can survive, you will be recognized by me. Namo shouted loudly, raised his trident, and rushed towards Yitian with unparalleled power. Yitian Vibranium's long knife shook, and the sharp light of the knife flickered. Just as he was about to do it, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Kryptonian bloodline integrate 50%, awakening steel body. In this instant, Yitian's body hidden under the clothes became stronger. The lines of the muscles are smoother. Super strength, super endurance, super speed, super hearing, and unparalleled super defense. Even, his eyesight has been greatly strengthened. Feeling the constant power pouring into his body, Yitian couldn't help but let out a long cry. The sound was like thunder, and like the roar of the gods. Rumble. The surrounding vibrated. The snow-capped mountains in the distance collapsed, countless high mountains shook, and the perennial snow roared and collapsed, carrying terrifying power, spreading to the surroundings. The thick ice layer on the ground cracked open, exposing the land and sea that had been frozen in ancient times. The power of a sound is like a natural disaster. Phil Coulson and others couldn't stand stably, and fell to the ground unsteadily. The faces of several Atlantis clansmen were even paler, and their bodies trembled unconsciously. Namor's eyelids twitched. For some reason, he felt that Yitian in front of him was more than 10 times stronger in an instant. Come on, fight! Yitian's eyes burst out with unprecedented fighting intent. Namor yelled loudly, and the little wings on his ankles flapped wildly. Holding the trident tightly in the palm of his hand, he flew towards Yitian with a mighty force. The tip of the trident, shining with golden energy, seems to be able to tear everything apart. The terrifying sonic boom resounded through the sky. To everyone's surprise, Yitian didn't use the vibranium long knife to block, or even dodge. Crab occasionally. Is this person courting death? Oh my god, is this person so frightened that he even forgot to resist? Haha, I laughed so hard, this is the famous Yitian. That's it, that's it. The people of Atlantis laughed out loud, their words full of sarcasm. As the people of Namor, they deeply know the horror of the latter. The strength of both arms can reach 100 tons. Coupled with the special way of exerting force of the Atlanteans, each punch can generate 800 tons of kinetic energy. Such a great power acts on the sea god trident. Then condense at one point through the tip of the gun. Then unleashed, enough to run through everything. Yitian, get out of the way. Phil Coulson shouted anxiously, eyes wide open. Natasha Romanoff quickly drew her gun with both hands. However, it was too late. Namor struck with all his strength, and under the power of the divine weapon trident, it hit Yitian. Boom! A dull voice sounded. Under the strong wind, Yitian's top was completely blown apart. Under the fair skin, there are well-defined muscles. It's not the exaggerated look that comes out of the gym. It is a streamlined muscle with a unique aesthetic feeling. The spear point of the sea god trident was heavily pierced into Yitian's chest. The seemingly weak skin, apart from a little redness, didn't even have any wounds. He actually held off Aquaman's attack and didn't even get hurt. Impossible, it must be Aquaman who released the water, otherwise he would not be able to block it. Several people from Atlantis spoke in horror. They collapsed on the ground, and their fear took all the strength out of their bodies. Namor took 2 steps back. The cold wind blew his hair, and also blew his heart cold. In this low temperature of tens of degrees below zero, sweat was dripping from his forehead. This fearless savage man felt fear for the first time. This fear comes from the unknown. He has lived for 400 years, and such a scene has never happened. That's right, the defense is not bad. Yitian smiled slightly, and within a second, the red spot on his chest recovered. In other words, Aquaman Namor, with such a powerful force, did not break the defense. This result left everyone stunned. Phil Coulson's palms trembled and he couldn't control his expression. Natasha Romanoff couldn't even hold the gun and almost fell to the ground. The rest of the agents were in extreme shock, swallowing their saliva nonstop to relieve their tension and excitement. Marcus led a few gangsters, his eyes popped out. Looking at Yi Tian in midair, he became more and more frantic. After holding back for a long time, Marcus finally said a word, "Grandmas, as expected of my idol, it's just a blast." Laughing to death, not breaking the defense at all. Namor was suspended in the air, his face changing for a while. He tried to think about countless endings, but he didn't expect that it would be like this. Shame on Grandma's house. Recalling his brazen words just now, he felt a sense of death. Especially it was seen by the clansmen. The majestic king of Atlantis expressed a little embarrassment and could not step down. Yi Tian chuckled. Fortunately, it's Aquaman, this blow looks ferocious. At the last moment, afraid of hurting me, I withdrew all my strength. Quote. Rivers and lakes. It's about the ways of the world, not fighting and killing. Anyway, I also tested my defense, and pretended to be aggressive by the way. There is no need not to save a little face for others. After all, he is the king of Atlantis. People still have to face. Everyone gasped. This battle ended in the most ridiculous way. There is no earth-shattering battle, and no equal competition. From start to finish, Yi Tian won without even taking a shot. Yi Tian chuckled. It's not bad that it's Aquaman. This blow seemed fierce. At the last moment, he was afraid of hurting me, so he withdrew all his strength. Rivers and lakes. It's about the ways of the world, not fighting and killing. Anyway, the opponent also conceded defeat. I also tested my defense, and pretended to be aggressive by the way. There is no need not to save a little face for others. After all, he is the king of Atlantis. People still have to face. As soon as these words came out, the people around suddenly realized. No wonder this terrifying blow didn't break the defense. It turned out that Namor was afraid of killing Yi Tian. I'll just say it. Our king can't be this weak. So it is, our king is merciful. Aquaman hail. Our king is so merciful. Aquaman hail. Aquaman hail. More than a dozen people in Atlantis shouted deafeningly. The frenzy rekindled in his eyes. Namor originally had a gloomy face, but when he heard this, he laughed. Haha, brother Yi Tian. We are just discussing, how could I make a dead hand? Quote. Your strength is also extremely strong, enough to earn our respect. There was gratitude in Namor's eyes. With a voice heard by two people, said softly, Thank you, brother Yi Tian. Others didn't know about the blow just now, but he knew it very well. With all his strength, he didn't hold back a hand. He was very moved by Yi Tian's face saving like this. If you don't fight, you don't know each other. Yi Tian smiled slightly. He understood that at this moment, he had gained Namor's friendship. The fiery Aquaman owes him a favor. Two people frozen in ice, on the bottom of the sea. Brother Yi Tian, I will arrange someone right now. I'll pick it up for you. Namor smiled heartily. He opened his mouth and let out a series of special sound waves. Yi Tian frowned. Two people frozen in ice. Isn't it just Captain America? Why is there an extra person? At this moment, several people from Atlantis rushed out from the sea. They were covered in bruises. The bright red blood diffused like ink dripping into water. Dye the vast expanse of seawater red. Namor hurried over. Helped a female Atlantean. Namora, what happened? Namora is Aquaman, Namor's cousin. Humans have attacked our homeland. Namora's arm was bleeding, and there was a deep gash where the bone was visible. Under the blue skin, the red blood has a sense of disobedience. It's them humans. Namora snarled, pointing at Yi Tian and the others. With deep hatred in his eyes. As soon as these words came out, more than a dozen Atlanteans looked at Phil Coulson and the others with cold eyes. I knew that there are no good people in human beings. They deliberately diverted the tiger away from the mountain, and then attacked our homeland. Kill them, kill these humans. Namo looked cold, looking at Yi Tian and the others. No, if it's really them, there's no need to turn the tiger away from the mountain at all. Yi Tian alone can kill them all. Save people first, Yi Tian said in a deep voice. Find some doctors and heal them. The rest of the uninjured people all went into the sea. Yi Tian issued orders one after another. Why should we listen to you? You bloody human. Shut up. Namor burst out. Listen to Yi Tian. He still has a lot of trust in Yi Tian. There is no need for such a powerful person to use intrigue. In the case of crushing strength, head-to-head is more practical than any conspiracy. Namor, what are the characteristics of the two people in the ice cube? Yi Tian said in a deep voice. A thought flashed through my mind. A soldier in blue. Namor didn't understand why Yi Tian asked this. There's one more. Yi Tian narrowed his eyes, and a person flashed in his mind. Red skin with a disfigured face like a skeleton. Sure enough, it was him. Red Skull, a supervillain who hates humans and wants to destroy the world. He was also behind the Nazi terrorist attacks. A pure bad guy. He is Captain America's worst enemy. Also the former leader of Hydra. Red Skull, the scariest thing is not his strength, but that extraordinary intelligence, and terrifying strategic ability. It seems that the world here is a little different from the movie. The Red Skull was not teleported to Vormir planet by Tesseract. And like in the comics, he was rescued by the Hydra organization. This is a perfect villain, the Destroyer. Once the Red Skull is returned to Hydra, the whole world will be in danger. Countless lives will be lost as a result. Furthermore, Wanda is the target of Hydra. He is also an enemy of Hydra. Once the Red Skull returns, Hydra will be stronger than ever. At that time, troubles will continue to flow. Namor looked at Yi Tian. He wanted the latter to help. But he couldn't open his mouth. Lead the way, Yi Tian said. Now he has a body of steel. Can go hours without breathing. Namor was overjoyed. Yi Tian. Natasha Romanoff frowned, looking a little worried. Phil Coulson also shook his head slightly. Once under the sea, many accidents can happen. It's an Atlantis thing. It has nothing to do with their tasks. Phil Coulson, informed director Nick Fury, send someone quickly, and stop Hydra from taking Red Skull. Listen to Yi Tian's words. Natasha Romanoff's expression changed. There was unprecedented horror in his eyes. The executioner is still alive. Phil Coulson also gasped. Red Skull. For the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., this name is a devil. If Red Skull returns to Hydra, the consequences. Phil Coulson realized the seriousness of the matter. In the deep sea, Namor was as quick as lightning. Behind him, there are a dozen Atlantis people. Yi Tian is riding on a dolphin. He looked around. The ocean world is completely different. Under the rough sea, it is very calm. Numerous schools of brightly colored fish swim by in groups. Dive again. Yi Tian felt the pressure around him increase. Sea water is soft, but at a certain depth, it is as heavy as 1,000 junctures. This can also explain why the people of Atlantis have higher physical fitness than humans. Here we are, Namor said. Ahead is a coral reef. The middle of the reef is being hollowed out. There are many houses. The roads intersect each other. Built into a small city. In the center of the city, there is a huge statue 10 meters high. It looked exactly like Namor. Here, it was supposed to be a place full of laughter. However, countless houses collapsed at this moment. There are wounded people everywhere. So what happened? Veins protruded from Namor's forehead, and his eyes were red. There are human submarines attacking suddenly, and we have no time to defend. More than 50 people died, and more than 300 people were injured. King, avenge us. We want to declare war on mankind. They snatched the frozen humans and ran towards the north. Namor nodded, with a cold killing intent in his eyes. Gather your forces and chase after me. At the same time, Namor emitted a sound wave of a special frequency. A dozen huge amounts of sharks swam up. Beneath the cold and bloodthirsty pupils were mouths full of blood. The shark teeth exude blood. At this moment, hundreds of soldiers had assembled. Under Namor's leadership, they swam towards the north. On the way, fish kept swimming over. Leave after a brief exchange with Namor. And Namor will also slightly change his direction at this time. Yi Tian pondered inwardly. As an Aquaman, it is normal to be able to communicate with fish. But, don't fish only have a 7-second memory? Found it. Just as Yi Tian was thinking, Namor's voice of hatred came from the front. Yi Tian looked up, with the help of supervision. It easily penetrated countless sea waters and saw 5 submarines ahead. The Hydra logo is printed on it. More than a dozen great white sharks swung their tails, their speed suddenly increased, and they surrounded the submarine. Namor swung the trident in his hand, driving countless streams of water. Namor's strongest state is in the water. The trident shimmered, and the golden armor on his body reflected the light. Look from a distance. Namor is like a surviving god from ancient times. The trident turned into a streamer, piercing through a submarine fiercely. Rumble. The submarine exploded, and the flames were engulfed in a violent airflow, spreading towards the surroundings. After the dull vibration, the submarine began to fight back. A series of torpedo missiles were launched in all directions. Terrifying sonic weapons swept around. Deals horrific damage to a great white shark. The people of Atlantis covered their ears in pain. Hydra clearly came prepared. The weapons he carried were just enough to restrain the Atlanteans. The civilization that has survived in the sea for tens of thousands of years has no room for resistance under human science and technology. They are the civilization of the previous generation. However, the protagonists of this era are ultimately human beings. The great white shark slammed into the submarine frantically. The powerful impact caused the submarine to sway for a while. Rumble. The torpedo exploded, and a dozen great white sharks were shredded by the missile. Terrible flames exploded on the bottom of the sea. Terrifying energy disturbed the water flow and shattered the surrounding rocks. Namor was also swept in by the horrible explosion. In the end, he rushed out of the fire in a rather embarrassing situation. But at this moment, the other 3 submarines had already left. Yi Tian rode a great white shark and followed closely behind. The long vibranium knife in his hand slashed out, and the sharp light of the knife split the water. A thin vacuum line traverses a distance of several hundred meters. Even if the power diminishes, the submarine power system will still be chopped into pieces. In the submarine, more than a dozen soldiers were in a mess. In a narrow passage, constantly flashing red light. The intelligence of electronic synthesis makes a rapid mechanical sound. Warning: damage to the power system. 54% energy leakage. The pressure in the cabin increases, the countdown is 5 minutes. Fake. Yi Tian, a fool, why is he here? Oily crab, his knife is too scary. What to do, we are going to die. Cursing sounded. On the seabed of these thousands of meters, once they lose the protection of the submarine, they will be instantly crushed to pieces by the terrifying pressure. Wake up the leader, he must have a way. That's right, the great red skull will surely save us. There was fanaticism in the eyes of the Hydra soldiers. In desperation, they looked at the ice cube. 2 ice cubes, one wrapped with a handsome blonde-haired Captain America. A red skull encased in flushed skin and an ugly face. Activate the emergency brake. Melting ice cubes. Hard awakening countdown. With a series of orders from the non-commissioned officer. The ice cubes gradually melted. Red Skull, which had been frozen for decades, slowly opened its eyes. In the originally pitch-black pupils, a light blue light shone. Red Skull, Red Skull. More than a dozen people knelt on the ground, shouted in unison, and looked at Red Skull frantically. For Hydra, Red Skull is their belief. With this chief, Hydra is the real Hydra. How much time has passed? Red Skull said hoarsely. The non-commissioned officer used the shortest time to explain decades of events and explained the current situation. The war is over, we lost. Yi Tian, I will kill him. Red Skull stretched out his palm, releasing light blue energy. The power of Tesseract is really fascinating. There was a hint of madness in Red Skull's eyes. Over the course of decades, a ray of energy from the Tesseract gradually merged into his body. Under the effect of the super soldier serum, he resisted the terrifying destructive energy. And mastered this ray of energy. Now he has received an epic bonus. Red Skull looked sideways, and landed on Captain America. Steve Rogers, you lowly lighthouse soldier. I'll deal with you after I kill Yi Tian. Just when Yi Tian was about to follow suit and smash other submarines. The submarine in front changed and glowed with light blue light. A figure slowly rose up. Under the red skin, a pair of dark eyes stared at Yi Tian firmly. It's the Red Skull. That light blue energy made Yi Tian's heart tighten. The power of Tesseract. Red Skull rushed towards Yi Tian violently. Before Yi Tian had time to react, he was firmly pressed to the ground. Rumble. Countless coral reefs collapsed. The mud rolled and buried Yi Tian and Red Skull. Boom! With an explosion, Yi Tian grabbed Red Skull's arm. Fly directly from the bottom of the sea to midair. To fight under the sea, the constraints are too great. The sky and land are his home field. You are Yi Tian, right? Red Skull looked indifferent. The way no one is looking. On his body surface, a light blue protective shield emerged. A terrifying fluctuation spread towards the surroundings. Decades ago, when the plane crashed with Captain America, he gains a touch of Tesseract power. After decades of freezing, his body has been completely remodeled. Let him have an unbelievable ability. Mighty power, I will rule the world again. Red Skull stared disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, the space vibrated, and the ice surface in the distance exploded. The water was choppy. See, this is my power. Red Skull looked mad, as if already aloof overlord. Phil Coulson looked at the light blue energy and seemed to think of something. His face turned pale. His expression became tense. Yi Tian, be careful, that is the energy that can destroy everything. Sweat oozes from the top of Phil Coulson's head. SHIELD has a secret study. Only agents above level 8 have the permission to know. Tesseract research. Unlimited energy shocked everyone. Just a little bit can provide the energy the whole world needs. And Red Skull, a terrifying supervillain, has actually mastered a trace of Tesseract energy. SHIELD, Fury receives a message from Phil Coulson. The whole person stood up abruptly. Agent Hill looked nervous. She had never seen the director lose his composure like this. This means that something extremely important has happened. Director Nick Fury, Hill asked, and she didn't realize that her voice was trembling a little. Fury's deep, single eyes were full of caution. Red Skull has been resurrected. Hill's expression changed. This means that Hydra will rise again. Plus some time ago, the Hydra spy discovered by S.H.I.E.L.D. The future lighthouse country will be precarious. The days of peace and stability will disappear. Every family is at risk. However, this alone is not enough to make Fury lose his composure. After all, this old fox has experienced too many major events in his life. Even experienced Star Wars, a Red Skull that would take Fury seriously without making him gaffe. Red Skull has mastered the energy of the Tesseract, Fury said with a headache, rubbing the space between his brows. Hiss, Hill gasped. As a rare 9th level agent, she also participated in the research of Tesseract. That endless energy, it can easily destroy the entire planet. Even a ray of energy is extremely terrifying, beyond everyone's imagination. Director, what should we do? Enter the 7th level of combat readiness, Fury said in a deep voice. Level 7 combat readiness, it is a crisis enough to subvert the country. There are 8th and 9th grades above. But, that's a level of danger that destroys civilization. Under normal circumstances, level 7 is already the highest level. Hill's scalp tingled, but as an excellent agent, she changed her mood immediately. The temperament of the whole person changed from capable to chilling in an instant. This is a war, Fury said quietly. Wait until Hill agent goes out. Fury pulled a pager from his chest. There is a hint of reminiscence in the eyes. This is his biggest secret and his biggest hole card. Once you encounter something that cannot be solved, just press the button of the pager. That invincible woman will fall from the sky. Destroy all enemies. And this, in his opinion, is the most powerful person. The source of power is Tesseract. Not yet. Fury hesitated a bit. Put the pager back in your breast pocket. Just how strong Red Skull will be remains to be assessed. At this moment, several screens lit up in the conference room. A holographic projection appeared, and several counselors looked serious. Fury, you S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't investigate this kind of thing in advance. For such a big crisis, you have to pay full responsibility. Several congressmen opened their mouths and withdrew from their responsibilities. Typical political tactics. Fury's expression remained unchanged. Now is not the time to pass the buck to each other, we should think about how to solve it. Once Red Skull wreaks havoc, people will impeach MPs. For your votes, think about countermeasures. Quote, Fury of Iron, Senator of Water. He's been S.H.I.E.L.D. director for decades and has seen too many MPs. Playing political means, he is only strong but not weak. And, in his opinion, the group of MPs in front of him was the worst one he had ever seen. Contact the military, they are best at war. A few more light curtains were added to the conference room. Several generals appeared. Now Red Skull has not left the North Pole. Direct nuclear bombing. It is also necessary to calculate the movement speed of the Red Skull to perform an indiscriminate attack. Fury narrowed his eyes. In this case, several nearby towns will be affected. It's the easiest way, and losing track of the Red Skull will only cost more. War has a price to pay. They are the people who stand at the pinnacle of the lighthouse country. Similarly, he is also the person in power standing at the pinnacle of the world. In their view, the lives of ordinary people are no different from those of ants. As long as they can protect their own interests, a few towns are nothing. Every word they say will cause social turmoil. A nuclear bomb, as a weapon to destroy all civilizations, possesses incomparably terrifying power. However, this level of weapons, for them, all it takes is a simple meeting, and you're ready to launch. Fury tapped his fingers on the table, connecting Phil Coulson in. Phil Coulson, evacuate urgently, the military will activate the nuclear bomb in 3 minutes. At the North Pole, Phil Coulson's complexion changed, and he hurriedly said, but Etienne is fighting Red Skull. As soon as these words came out, Fury was immediately shocked. Everyone hurry up and vote whether to launch a nuclear bomb. Our military, unanimously approved. Heard Etienne's also at the North Pole. The military personnel's eyes lit up, and then hatred flashed. Etienne blocked the White House and slapped their military in the face. At this moment, it is heard that Etienne is also at the North Pole. One after another became emotionally excited and demanded to launch a nuclear bomb. Kill the Red Skull and also send a Etienne. Make them go crazy with excitement. Hill, satellite locked on to the North Pole, linking battle footage to conference room. Look at the battle first, and then make a decision. Fury rubbed his brows. He didn't think Etienne was a match for Red Skull. He has seen the power of Tesseract. It can only be described as horror. At this moment, on the screen, the battle has already begun. Etienne looked indifferent. The arrogant Red Skull, in his opinion, is just a beggar who picked up $100. But I got a ray of Tesseract's energy, and I really thought I was invincible. The future Thanos, with 6 gems gathered, is also defeated. Now I have integrated the Man of Steel, plus magic and a powerful self-healing factor. The strength is extremely terrifying. Red Skull is an epic enhancement. He is not afraid either. At this moment, there was a bang. On the surface of the sea, a burly figure soared into the sky. Aquaman Namor's eyes were full of anger. All the submarines on the bottom of the sea were destroyed by him. However, more than a dozen tribesmen were torn into pieces by the missile. He wants to kill Red Skull to avenge the dead of his tribe. Die to me. Namor's trident burst out with dazzling golden light. Under the intense rage, this blow surpassed his limit. Rumble. Because of the speed, the powerful attack creates a sonic boom that resounds through the sky. Who is this? It's so powerful. My God, is this the power that humans can emit? In the conference room, everyone gasped. Fury pulled up Namor's file. Several congressmen and military generals were shocked. The arms have a strength of 100 tons and can communicate with marine life. In the sea, can control the power of the sea. The alpha-level mutant can fly and reach the speed of sound. This is too scary. My God, if the people of Atlantis are so powerful, human beings will be in danger. This Namor will definitely beat Red Skull to the ground. Namor's data is completely above that of Captain America. In their view, even if Red Skull becomes stronger, there are limits. Faced with Namor's earth-shattering blow, he would definitely be seriously injured and die. Fury didn't speak. Members of Parliament and the military will never know how terrifying the Tesseract's power is. During World War II, the Hydra organization used Tesseract to research weapons. That terrifying energy weapon can easily pierce through anything. Will Namor win? Fury murmured. Even if Namor showed a very strong strength, he already has reservations. All this is because of a woman. An unimaginably powerful level universe superhero transformed by Tesseract. Fury looked worriedly at the screen. I saw Red Skull raising his hand, and light blue energy gushed out, wrapping around Namor at an extremely fast speed. Boom! The energy exploded, and the blue energy crazily destroyed Namor's body. His body trembled slightly, his skin exploded, and blood flowed down. Ants. Red Skull smiled faintly, and quickly flew to Namor's side. He raised his right hand and slammed it down heavily. Namor's body was like a kite with broken strings. Looking around, it is like a bright meteor falling towards the ground. Rumble. Namor hit the ground heavily. Blood spurted out of his mouth. The powerful force continues to spread. The whole earth shook. The deafening sound resounded through the world. Countless piles of snow were blown away. The thick ice surface is all cracked. This time it's really over. Phil Coulson turned pale. There was a hint of despair in his eyes. This is not a battle that humans can participate in. There was no trace of blood on Natasha Romanoff's glamorous face. In the meeting room, after a brief silence, bursts of exclamations erupted. Defeated. Namor actually lost. I didn't resist a single blow, it was completely crushed. How can Red Skull be so powerful? The counselors roared excitedly, their faces flushed. Even through the screen, a trace of despair rose in their hearts. Immediately, launch a nuclear bomb. Blow up Red Skull. Make sure to blow him up. Once he is allowed to leave, the consequences will be disastrous. Several generals in the military looked serious, led by Ross. He kept urging, "Wait, we still have Yi-Tian." Fury replied, "Nuclear bombs should always be used only as a last resort. Once a nuclear bomb is launched privately, it will cause international disputes. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, Fury doesn't want to launch a nuclear bomb that will damage himself by 800 and hurt the enemy by 1000. Fury, Yi-Tian's strength, we all know, he can't beat Red Skull. Your hesitation, how big the consequences will be, do you understand? Furthermore, we all agree that you cannot be the master of this matter. We must be responsible for the people, for the country, and for the world." They said indignantly. Fury sneered inwardly. These people speak well. In fact, it was more, just to kill Yi-Tian together. The military rulers of the entire Beacon country are such a group of selfish and narrow-minded people. Fury was very disappointed. Phil Coulson sent a message. Not long ago, Yi-Tian gave Namor a hard blow. Fury said in a deep voice. However, Yi-Tian was not injured. Hiss. Didn't Namor break the defense? Fury, can you guarantee that Yi-Tian will defeat Red Skull? Fury shook his head. No. Fake, it's not your style to be so adventurous, what's wrong with you? Fury nodded. Some time ago, Yi-Tian was easily pierced through the head by a bullet. A few days ago, hatred and anger punched Yi-Tian's head. But now, with Namo's full blow from Yi-Tian, the divine weapon trident didn't break the skin. This kind of growth is simply terrifying to the point of trembling. Even, give Yi-Tian a period of time. The earth will have another powerful patron saint. Fury is the secret gatekeeper of this world. He knows many secrets and knows that the earth is very dangerous. Not only internal enemies, but even aliens are watching. For example, the Kree who invaded the solar system. He will not give up on Yi-Tian until the last moment. Even if a nuclear bomb is really going to be launched, it must also be under the condition of Yi-Tian's safety. The earth needs a patron saint. We can give you 3 minutes. However, your Avengers plan must be stopped. The general of the military spoke. They still haven't given up their research on Hulk. Even at this moment of crisis, this group of high-level officials still did not forget to seek benefits for themselves. Fury rubbed between his brows, feeling a little tired. The Beacon country has been strong for too long, and the internal corruption is getting worse. A group of selfish people will only lead the country to decline. Okay, I promise you. Fury sent a message to Phil Coulson. You only have 5 minutes, if Yi-Tian is defeated, take him and leave quickly, at all costs. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.